Gather the boys around the radio, park the truck and turn it up, it's time for the show. JB and JC and Mad Dog Mully, it's a power three for these amigos, a lunchtime meet and treat, a power trio. With guests and fans that really rock, it's time to talk 3 hours about those damn Gamecocks. So grab a sandwich, soup, or beer, and let's go. It's time for the show. Oh no, it's time for TG. Gamecock Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He'll be fire on the mountain.
It's time for Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Built by the Barndominium Company, presented by Resto Pros of the Midlands, and part of the Chief Sports Network.
Touchdown Carolina! Touchdown Ace Sanders! Pressure! And he just dives in!
Here's J.C. Sherbert, Phil Wollinax, and Jamie Bradford.
God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. And may you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. And may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young. And may you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young. May you stay forever young.
Happy Thanksgiving. Greetings and good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard and welcome home. Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and presented by our friends at Resto Pros, and they all wish you a happy Thanksgiving and a happy start to this holiday season, especially here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. JC will be along in just a moment. Mike Morgan, the Golden Tones, and the Golden Boy, or the Golden Dome, Mad Dog Molinax here, one day before Turkey Day. So we hope we give you a little bit of an appetizer for the main course tomorrow and then get you into rivalry weekend. We've got a bunch going on, and we'll have both Pat DiMarco and Steven Garcia in the noon hour. John Whittle is ahead here in just a moment as well. The rankings are out. Carolina is 15th, as you all probably well know. So we're going to talk plenty about that. We've got to drive around the SEC, and we'll play some Fab Five later on. It's Carolina Clemson style. Looking forward to that. But with all that said, good morning, gentlemen, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. So much to be thankful for, including being a part of the best sports show in the Palmetto State. I don't say that lightly. Very proud to be part of ITG and Chief Sports and this great ensemble of folks with you and Phil and JC and the many great guests that we have on week in, week out. Special thanks to our audience. I was talking about this on JC and Morgan on Monday. Probably don't say it enough, but we don't take it for granted that you folks choose each and every day 3 hours out of your block of time. There's a lot of different things out there. Anybody with a microphone and a laptop now can claim they're doing a show. I think we try to do things a little bit above that here, and have invested a lot of time in this business. I can certainly say that with confidence. All our ITGers, everybody on Chat Row, our premium club members, we really thank you. It's amazing. In my travels just recently, it's amazing how many people that I've run into that enjoy this program. So it's not just South Carolina people, because there are Gamecock fans everywhere. I talk all the time about the fact that we have a ton of them here in Atlanta. One of the producers I work with at the local sports station, 680 The Fan, he is a Gamecock through and through, and I've turned him on to this show. I was just playing. We have a pickup basketball league yesterday, and there's a guy who's been playing there for years. And I knew he was a South Carolina fan, and I was like, "But are you really like a fan, or just like a grad that every now and then pulls up with a Gamecock shirt or something?" He's like, "No. I keep up with everything. I keep up with football. I keep up with basketball. I know that." I said, "Well, ITG, bro." And he's like, "What?" And he had no idea that was something that I did. And he had no idea of the show. He does now, and I can promise you he'll be another loyal listener. So welcome, Neil. But anyway,
Hello,
yeah,
Neil.
I just hello, Neil.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to all of that. This has been so much fun, and so proud of the direction that we're headed.
For sure.
Well-
For sure. I love it. I introduced a couple of my neighbors to the show. I got the, "Did I see you on YouTube?" I'm like, yes, you did. You did see me. which is becoming more normal for me, because 3 years ago, if somebody said, "Did I see you on YouTube?" I would have immediately gone into, oh no, what happened?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what did somebody catch me out doing?
Hmm.
And was I out recently with my wife at a karaoke or something? That could have gotten a little embarrassing, but yeah, no, but happy to have you all here. It is a great family. Love doing this. Getting new listeners every day is even better, new viewers. And we're all, I know I can speak for all four of us, very grateful for the audience and the ability to get on here and just talk sports.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we're good. We got plenty of that. And obviously, it's such a wild week. So many people get to relax and enjoy it. Not in this industry. My wife and kids are off wandering around down by the beach, and here I am stuck in a room in Delaware, broadcasting to the Carolina audience ahead of the big ball game this weekend. Congratulations to the Carolina band for making a heck of an appearance and quite the showing this morning on the Today Show. They'll be marching tomorrow in what is looking like a rainy New York City Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, but nonetheless, they're there and they're fired up, and then they have a hell of a bus ride home. They'll leave on Thursday, get back on Friday, and then head to the upstate, because they gotta cheer loud and play those horns and strings and beat the drums, etc. for Carolina football, who's got Clemson now 15-12 matchup in Death Valley on Saturday, guys. All right, so we'll kind of get right into it here. I was not shocked at all that South Carolina entered at 15. I think we all kind of projected they'd be hovering around there. Clemson at 12 is high, but I don't think that that's where they deserve to be. But that doesn't matter. They need to be, hell, they can be number one. That's good for South Carolina going.
That's what you want, ideally.
Yeah. Put them as high as you could put them. That's what you want. You're right, Mike. But Alabama and Ole Miss at 13 and 14, I think, sent the message that head-to-head matters.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing. Okay, so this is what they say they do, just like they say they do in basketball. That it's like an independent 13 people fill out their 1 through 25, put it in a bowl, and then they tabulate those votes, and then they come up with the top 25 consensus. I don't believe that's the case. I really think they get together and they're like, okay, we got these three-loss SEC teams. Let's bunch them together. Let's put Clemson just above those three. And if Carolina beats Clemson, we can make things interesting. But because Ole Miss and Alabama beat Carolina, we've got to have them ahead. We just have to. But what about the strength of schedule? What about the bad losses for the? No, I don't care. They won the head-to-head. Let's put Carolina right below them, and that way we piss off the fewest amount of people. I truly believe that goes into the minds of the committee, and you'll never convince me otherwise. Just like you'll never convince me the committee's is supposedly, well, we never consider conference affiliation when we determine which teams get in and which teams get out. I.e., we never say the SEC should have at least 4 because it's easily the best conference in college football. We don't do that. I disagree. I don't believe that. And I know this latest projection only has 3. I still believe the SEC will get 4. And if it doesn't, it's going to be a you-know-what storm. Because there's a lot of people that are going to look at it on the surface and say, wait a minute. Honestly, the best team in college football does not have the most teams in the field. Come on, boys. What are we doing? What are we doing? So when I look at it, it just felt to me, guys, that it was orchestrated, that it was very formulaic, that it was not just 13 people submitting their ballots and then the compilation of those 13. It felt to me very premeditated, very let's go ahead and do this because of that, and that way we'll have this. Just one man's opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. To your point, by the way, 6 of the top 15 are out of the SEC. I think that proves everything you just said. It's the best league in the country, and it's the most difficult league in the country. And when you go look at all the metrics that actually matter, like strength of schedule and those type of things, the SEC is far and away the king of all of that. They're bound to lose some games and eat their own, and they've been doing that throughout the year. The question, though, obviously they're going to need some chaos inside the top 12. Of course, if you beat Clemson, that knocks out number 12. But you're going to need something else to happen somewhere. Maybe it's SMU and Cal. Maybe it's Notre Dame and Southern Cal. I don't know. But Ole Miss hosts Mississippi State this weekend. They're 26-point favorites in the game. They should bury the Bulldogs at home. Alabama has Auburn, and they've got them at home, and they're 11.5-point favorites in that ball game. Now, I know that Auburn upset A&M late on Saturday night in quadruple overtime, and the Tigers are maybe playing a little bit better. I don't know. Who knows? But it is very safe to say if Carolina goes to the upstate and beats the Tigers, who are ranked ahead of both Alabama and Ole Miss, that's a much better win this weekend. The question is, if those three all 3 of those league teams win, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Alabama, with them being ranked above them but having wins that are weaker than the Gamecocks in the upstate, will the committee, quite frankly, have the balls to put them ahead of those 2 programs who beat them earlier in the season? And we just don't know that answer.
Yeah, there was and I should have given it to Phil to flash on the screen. That's my bad. I sat and watched the entire show yesterday. And I'll be honest, it's the first time I've done it.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. And I realized at the end of it, I was like, oh, this is why I haven't been watching this. Okay,
yeah. I mean, I knew I was going to be like grinding my teeth and I won't say I was cursing at the TV set, but let's just say I had some salty language about some of the things that were said and done. But they threw up a graphic and it says resume comparison, and there in bright lights are the 3 logos: Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina. And then they followed it underneath. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Strength of schedule rank, strength of record rank, key wins. So strength of schedule rank: Alabama 11, Carolina 12, Ole Miss 27. Like that should have been. They didn't really comment on that. Strength of record rank: Alabama 11, Carolina 14, Ole Miss 19.
Right.
Again, which one of these is not like the other? And then key wins. Well, all 3 have key wins. So Alabama can brag about beating Georgia, Carolina, Missouri. Legit. Ole Miss can brag about thumping Carolina and Columbia, beating Georgia by 3 scores at home. And now they put Oklahoma on there too. And Carolina could say, hey, Texas A&M, who, by the way, still mathematically has a chance to win the SEC, That was a complete destruction. Beat Missouri, a top 25 Missouri team that was playing for their playoff lives, beat them. And then, don't forget, went to Oklahoma and devoured the Sooners, who now all of a sudden are showing signs of life. What's missing in that graphic for me is key losses or bad losses. And I don't know why we do it in basketball. We put that up on the resumes in basketball on Selection Sunday. So why would you not put that up here? And if you actually had that, it's no comparison. It's game over. It's Carolina easily, because Carolina doesn't have an embarrassing loss to a bad team, whereas Ole Miss lost to Kentucky and then recently lost to Florida. And I get it, Florida's more legit now than they were a month ago, but it's still not a great team without a great record. Alabama loses at Vandy. I get it. Vandy's a good story, but it's still Vandy, and they're not in the ranks of the other top teams, and just got embarrassed to Oklahoma. So if you added that line to this graphic, and if you actually had the committee discussing this, that's a separator. In a world where a lot of these other numbers are close, Carolina does not have the bad losses that Ole Miss and Alabama has. Now, will this even be remotely discussed in that room? Will anybody give it credence? Probably not. They'll say Carolina's the hottest team of the group, but we can't get past the head-to-head. But I'm here to tell you, if you're really going to look at this thing objectively and bring all the important metrics into it, where all three of them have quality wins, you have to look at the losses too. And one of these teams is not like the other in that category.
That's a
What's
great,
up, guys?
excellent.
What's up?
Good morning, JC. Wait, I hate to tell you this, brother, but we got to get to break because John's waiting on us.
Okay.
Well, you know,
I'll hold it. I got some things to say.
But we're going to pick up where we left off here. We're just going to bring John and JC into this conversation because you got a point. And something Ward Manuel said last night. I've got to tag on to that too. So but
he's the worst possible person. And I looked at who is on the committee last night.
Oh,
there's no chance they're going to pick a good field. There's a bunch of like old school, underdog lovers.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about I'm talking about like a lot of, there's no SEC voice in the room. There are all these people, even Gary Pinkel, who coached in the league, and it probably feels like he never got any respect and blah, blah, blah. Jim Grobe. I mean, you don't think he's pulling for SMU? I mean, it is a trash heap. Anyway.
We'll hit a timeout. We'll get John and JC and their thoughts on this as well. Happy Thanksgiving and happy Rivalry Week to all of you. Brought to you by our friends at Palm Casual, palmcasual.com for the best outdoor furniture money can buy. 4 locations in South Carolina. ITG, we'll be right back.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
What Right to Bear is we're an association of members across the entire country, and what we offer is we offer legal defense in the event of a self-defense case. Nice. So it's not insurance. So we offer an attorney in the event that one of our members might have some type of an accident. ProtectWithBear.com. We've got all of our social media accounts on the bottom of our website. We've got blogs, articles, detailed description of all of the coverages in depth, and we'd love to have you come check us out and ultimately get the protection you need.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Today is the day we.
Welcome back and happy Thanksgiving. And welcome John Whittle with the Big Spur, who is very well traveled from the great state of Indiana on down to the Sunshine State where he is now. Hey, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's a lot of miles on the car here lately. About 1,600 last weekend, and I think we'll end up a little bit less than that this weekend, but that's okay.
Man, you need to ask for a raise. Who do we talk to about that?
No. I don't need anything like that. Everybody takes very good care of me for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe a rental car next time would do the trick. John, we'll get to some hoops here in just a little bit, but again, first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving, and we sure are glad to have you. I know you couldn't be with us on Monday. John will be covering the Carolina basketball game tonight as they try to get a win against Virginia Tech. They need one, but we'll come back to that here in just a little bit. Your thoughts on Carolina and where they landed last night in the CFP rankings at 15?
I mean, about where I thought they would. I mean, not where I think they should be. You know, I thought they should be a couple of spots higher. I feel like they should be in that 12 range. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is what it doesn't surprise me that that's where they were, considering what the committee has done so far. I think South Carolina needed to make a big move this week and just didn't do it to have like a really good shot at the playoffs, even with a win. But you know, win this weekend and see what happens. But you know, you still have to win this game first.
Yeah, it's good having Clemson in the top 12. I wish they were higher. The thing with all of this is, all right, so you talk about head to head, right? Mike hit on this earlier. He mentioned, I had it in my notes too. It's just an excellent point. Like in college basketball, you talk about good wins, bad losses, or good losses, if there is such a thing, quality losses, quality wins, all those type of things. You don't hear any of that. You have the head-to-head situation, guys, with Ole Miss, Carolina, and Alabama. Gamecocks lost to both of them. Their poorest performance of the year, of course, was against the Rebels on their home field. But then you look at some of the teams that they share opponents with. You know, Ole Miss also lost to LSU down in Baton Rouge. You could say Carolina's worst loss is LSU, but we also know the circumstances that surround the game. But their worst performance was against Ole Miss. You look at Alabama, they got beat by Vanderbilt. South Carolina beat the crap out of Vanderbilt on their home field. Alabama was embarrassed Saturday night against Oklahoma. South Carolina ended that game up there in the first 4 minutes when they played in Norman. None of these questions are being brought up to the committee. I know they don't have a lot of TV time, but I'm not so sure that they would have the answers if you did bring them up and ask them what the separator and the reasoning is. And the only thing they'd be able to point to is head to head.
Yeah, and I'm going to take a little bit of a contrarian stance, a little bit, and I'm sure it's going to bring some comments from the Carolina folks. But I don't know that you can get that deep down far into this, right? Like, you know, we're talking about so many different things already and can't come to a consensus on what the most or on what the best criteria are. If you start looking at 2 and 3 steps away on who beats who and who wins, and just if you go that far in this, I mean, are you going to go to, you know, where they won the game, how much they won that game by, how much they lost that game by? I get where you're coming from, and I understand, but we're looking at it from a strictly South Carolina standpoint. I mean, you start doing these dives into all of these teams and all of their arguments, and it just becomes a maze that you can't get out of. So,
hey John, can I be contrarian to your contrarian for 1 second on that? Okay, if Notre Dame loses to Southern Cal Saturday, they're out, even though they would only be their second loss. Why is that? Because they don't love Notre Dame? No, they desperately want Notre Dame in this thing. We know that. It's because the Northern Illinois loss was so bad that almost counts as 2. Now, I realize there's no such thing as a conference loss in the SEC that's as bad as Northern Illinois, but my point is that they do look at bad losses. That's not like completely foreign, but I think what they've done is they just said, well, it's the SEC. No such thing as they're all the same. Every loss is about the same. It's really not. I mean, losing to Kentucky is not the same as losing on the road in Tuscaloosa, right? So I don't think it's too much to look at that in terms of which team has the most bad losses or the worst losses versus which team really doesn't have a bad loss in terms of quality of competition. That's just
well, no, and I'm not talking about these one-step deals. I'm talking about how, well, if you look at Vandy's loss compared to Vandy's loss to Alabama compared to South Carolina's win versus Vandy, like you're talking 2 different times of the season. You're going a little bit too far when I think you start comparing some of those things. No, I mean, I agree with you with your Notre Dame stance and NIU and that step of it. I'm just saying that you can go too far down the road in trying to compare some things, because at some point, like it just becomes too much with too many different teams and you're too deep into the weeds.
I tell everybody that gambles, and any gambler will tell you this: never compare scores. Never sit there and assume, well, they beat this team by this, therefore, ergo, this thing. I mean, that's a rule of football. We know that. We talk about it on the show. These guys compare scores, John, because this is how, and I follow the logic, but it's lazy, in my opinion, and it's not optimal toward getting the best teams. And they sat there all offseason and said, it's not about the most deserving, it's about the best teams. No, it's about you're on the deserving train, right? And I looked at the makeup of the committee, and I'll get to that at some point during the show, but and it doesn't surprise me. But here's how it all played out. So we got 3 SEC teams at 9-3. Okay. All right, South Carolina's 0-2 against the field, so they're 3rd. That doesn't matter. They're not looking at anything else. They don't give a crap about. It's going to be hard for me not to cuss today. They don't give a crap about anything else. Ole Miss get Bama are 2-0, so now it's between Bama and Ole Miss. And so how did they arrive at Bama and Ole Miss? Well, they both have some bad losses, et cetera. Bama's were on the road. But what they did was they went to that LSU game. Ole Miss lost by 3 in Baton Rouge. Bama won by 29. Ergo, Alabama. Everybody wants to know why Alabama, after losing by 3 touchdowns, is ahead of Ole Miss. That's why. Because they don't play. And then they just move on. What kills me is Ward Manuel's defense of Indiana. As Craig pointed out in the chat box, he said, well, they actually played pretty well. We were impressed with them against Ohio State. What are you watching, brother? What are you watching, brother? And then he starts bringing up, and I know he's the athletic director of Michigan and a huge Big Ten homer, and that's obvious. And then he says, Indiana actually played a good schedule. They've beaten Washington and Michigan and Nebraska. Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah.
Here's a team that's a great story, and I have tons of respect for them. They're basically James Madison from last year with a little bit of extra talent added in. 16 transfers from James Madison. Really good football team. Would not be 11-1 without their schedule, though, at all. Not even close. Right? And we're going to use Washington and Michigan and Nebraska, 3 big-name programs, but 3 500 football teams this year in that conference, which is not even close to the SEC. I don't care, except for with money. And we're going to use that as a reason to prop them up, right? But with these SEC teams, you got 3 losses, therefore you're not bad. And what pisses me off even worse is the media talking about 2 ACC teams getting in. I went through SMU's schedule. you may as well just not. If you're an SEC team, you may as well change conferences. If it's going to be like this, there is nothing impressive about them except for winning against the competition that they're matched up against. They were a group of 5 program last year who's done a good job getting a roster together to compete in the worst conference in college football.
Well, that's
and
what
yes,
it is. Yeah,
I think I think the Big 12 is better, top to bottom. You match up a Kansas State with a Syracuse. I think K-State wins by a couple of touchdowns, right? So this notion that Miami, who, if it weren't for a very judgmental call from the league office, the shady people that run the ACC that can't ever make any good decisions, that have driven the conference into the ground, I can go on and on, that gave them a gift, because there's nothing about that touchdown Virginia Tech scored that would lead you to overturn that play from every angle. There's not enough evidence. It was the wrong call to begin with, but that's life. But no, we can't have Miami go down. Clemson's already lost. Oh, my God. Judgment call. And then escaped the mighty Cal Bears in Strawberry Canyon by the skin of their teeth. Could have gone down to Duke. And this guy's sitting there talking about Booger McFarland was sitting there talking about how impressive they were, that they looked like that same team that beat Florida because they pulled away from Wake Forest in the second half. Meanwhile, Ole Miss gets dinged all to hell for going to the swamp against a good Florida team that's on a roll and losing by a touchdown. I mean, I'm just beside myself. It's not necessarily how they decided between the 3 in the SEC. That's going to work itself out. And again, I'll point to this. Texas is 3rd in the country. Nobody wants to talk about Texas's best win is Colorado State in the opener? Does nobody wants to talk about that? I mean, it's pretty logical to look and see, hey, the highest ranked team in the SEC this year is, the team that avoided every good team but one and lost and got their ass cut on their home field by them. I mean, because they're Texas? I don't know. I don't want to think there's bias. But it's like there's totally different standards for everybody. And it's all funneled into, hey, we're going to show the SEC. And I don't know if that's their opinion. I think they'll be able to explain anything away, like you said, John. I mean, they could get too far into the weeds, and we'd get just a pile of dung at the end of an explanation. Nobody can do anything about it. But I mean, it may not be what they say. It may not be in their heart. It may be subconscious. But this is not why we expanded the playoff. We expanded the playoff for good teams in tough conferences to get a chance. Right? We didn't expand it for an 11-1 dog shit SMU team to get into the finals because they were the runner-up or 11-2 because they were the runner-up in the ACC. That was not in politics. We talk about the founding fathers and their intent. This was not the intent of Sir Greg Sankey and Petiti and the people that matter in this sport agreeing to this format. I rest my case.
You can talk now, John.
I'm sorry, John. I need to get it out now, man, because it's Thanksgiving,
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you're right about that.
This over into tomorrow.
And I'm mad. Yeah. I'm more mad because of the process that South Carolina, hey, play better. You don't lose by that bad to Ole Miss. Maybe it's closer. Maybe there's a bigger gripe right now. But I think the SEC deserves 5 teams in. They won't. But people are sitting there talking about them only getting 3. I mean, nobody realizes just because your conference does not have a dominant team, that's not what a strong conference is.
Mm-hmm. I don't think there is a dominant team in college football, period.
No.
That's not just the SEC. I don't think there's not a runaway freight train team this year in college football.
I'll be very honest. I think Ohio State has
that other day.
I think Ohio State is the best roster, but they don't show up half the time, and they may be bored, which remind me to make a point about Clemson later on that end of things. I think Oregon's nice. I have now look, Gamecock perspective, don't be upset Clemson's 12th. If they weren't playing each other, that's crazy. But it'll help Carolina the higher they are.
I'll just say
John,
one other thing. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll get to it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
Well, it's still kind of relevant to what we're discussing. And I touched on this, but I couldn't remember the specifics last time. To go back to the three-headed monster that is Carolina, Ole Miss, Alabama, I'm not going to let that go. I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is. Thank you, Phil. Bam.
Going to the scoreboard
again. I mean, Ole Miss. Like, I was there for that game. Ole Miss knew they just played their way out of a playoff. They had it was right there on a table. The rest of their resume is not great. I get it. They beat Carolina and Columbia. That matters, but you have to consider the strength of schedule, the strength of record, and some of the bad losses. The Kentucky loss is just that stands alone. That Carolina and Alabama don't have that. But here's the other thing on the head-to-head argument. Going back to the BCS, let me take you through that nightmare for just a second. In 2000, Miami, a very loaded Miami team led by Butch Davis, played the Florida State Seminoles on October the 7th and won 27-24 in the Orange Bowl. Okay? Miami finished the season 11-1. Florida State finished the season 11-1. Miami had the head-to-head. Guess who played in the BCS national championship game between the two, or of the two?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was Florida State with a Thornton Mellon at quarterback, the oldest quarterback in college football, Chris Winkie, who I think was 106, and he led his team to a title over Mike Vick and Virginia Tech. So there is precedent. Head-to-head, even with two teams with the same number of losses, hasn't always been the end-all, get-all when a committee is involved. They've looked at other numbers and other metrics and said, well, no, wait a minute now. I get it, head-to-head, but that's not the only thing. It's obviously important. It's incredibly important, but when you're really picking that dung out of pepper because there's so many things that these teams have in common, metrically speaking, sometimes you have to think a little bit beyond that. So the committee has done that in the past. I realize it's a different committee, it's a different setup, but back then we still did have voters and computers that selected the teams. And in that head-to-head scenario, both teams won-loss. They took Florida State over Miami, despite Miami winning head-to-head.
I think it's an excellent point. And John, when you to kind of shift this into the game this weekend between Clemson and South Carolina, this playoff right now is providing an incredible opportunity for this rivalry and for the South Carolina football program, in my opinion, because we grew up in this state. We understand it. Mike, you were the voice of Carolina. I mean, you worked there for a long time. We all get how incredible the Clemson Carolina rivalry is in football, really in all the sports, but obviously in football. But the one thing that has been missing for years, in my opinion, is Carolina's fault. They have not had enough success to elevate this rivalry where, like the Auburn, Alabamas of the world, the Florida States, et cetera, et cetera. They don't have a trophy case. Clemson does. So that's on the Gamecocks. But now that you got this college football playoff, for the first time in the history of this rivalry, these two teams are playing for something more than just bragging rights and feelings. I mean, if one of them, or whoever loses this weekend, either is not getting into the CFP or has a major hurdle to get into it. And so I think the future of this whole thing, John, really could get a boost if these programs will continue to play well, playing this game at the end of the season on Thanksgiving weekend with the playoffs on the line, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This sucker can start to get a little bit more national attention.
Yeah, I agree with you. And to go back to my initial point to start all this, I think South Carolina should be ranked higher right now than both Alabama and Ole Miss. So, I'm not trying to say that South Carolina should be behind those folks. I think they should be ahead based on the fact that South Carolina's got better quality wins. I mean, we're assuming South Carolina wins this weekend, obviously, and all of this. Yeah. So, and they're playing better right now. Like that to me is a big deal. I mean, those are the two reasons why I think South Carolina should be ahead. I do think you can go too far down the path, but I think South Carolina should already be ahead. Anyway, back to your point just now. Yeah, I mean, when you start talking about how you have 12 teams going into this playoff with an opportunity to compete for a championship, then going into the last weekend, you're probably going to have 20 teams who figure that they've got at least some type of chance to make it in there. And, that's a lot of teams playing for something meaningful there at the end of the season. And, South Carolina wants to be a top 25 program at least year in and year out. Clemson has been here recently. South Carolina was for a brief point in time. And, it's as you said, it's South Carolina's fault that this rivalry hasn't gotten more national play here lately. But, I think that there is a lot going in favor of the Gamecocks from as far as trending forward and becoming and building a sustainable program. So, I like where South Carolina currently stands, and Clemson doesn't look like they're going too far away from the playoffs anytime soon. They're not certainly the dominant program that they were for a little while, or in that upper echelon there that they were for 6, 7, 8 years. But they're not showing any signs of being out of playoff contention. So, this is certainly a hopefully first game of a lot of meaningful ones in a row for both programs.
That's exactly right. Actually, if you look at the slate this weekend, I'd love to get everybody's thoughts on this. I think we're all anticipating that Texas and Texas A&M has a chance to be a really good football game on Saturday night. Probably should be, because there's a lot on the line for both of those teams as well. But when you look at the rest of the slate, and I know that some of these rivalries being played this weekend, some of the teams in those games are having down years. I don't know that on paper that there is a better football game than this one that's going to be played right here in the Palmetto State. You look everywhere. Look, some of these spreads this weekend, guys, 19, 26. This is a rivalry weekend, right? And then here's the Carolina-Clemson game being played, and the Tigers right now are favored at 2.5. They might end up being the best game of the whole weekend, and it'll be the first one that kicks off on Saturday.
Dabo even mentioned it yesterday in his press conference. He said, this is the one that everybody's going to be talking about. This is the best one.
But it's the most meaningful because you could make the argument it's the most meaningful. I think to piggyback on JC's point about Texas. I mean, if they lose, let's just say by double digits to A&M, you could make a strong argument that Texas doesn't belong in the playoff and that one of those 3-loss SEC teams should leapfrog them. I don't think the committee has the stones to do it. But
right.
I do think if you just looked at pure resume at that point, you could say Texas is not, they don't belong in. And where it's for Carolina, Clemson has to have it or they're out. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Carolina has to have it to stay in contention. And it's one of the rare, Pete Iacobelli did a good piece for AP talking about the history of these teams playing as ranked teams. It hadn't happened since 2013.
Which Carolina's 5-1 in those games.
That's the other key number that he mentioned.
Point. There's only 6 of them.
Yeah, which is almost impossible to believe. But the fact that who would have guessed Carolina was that dominant in those matchups, and the only loss. And I was there, and I saw it. I had a really good view of that play is a push-off by Gardner. You might have seen that in my title there if you're watching on YouTube. Gardner pushed off. He did. But, yeah, so Carolina's actually – when Carolina's got a squad, they play really well in this game. But unfortunately, as you talked about, Jamie, in the history of time, more often than not, Clemson's just had a more talented, better team. And then that's why it's a lopsided in terms of overall wins and losses.
Well, I think that's indicative of the whole series. Isn't that, John, how much have you dug into this over the course of your career? Generally, the better football team wins. There's not a lot of upsets in this series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big point spread guy, so I haven't dived into that, but you're exactly right. I mean, and it makes sense, right? Like, emotions can only take you so far. Like, they're usually the better of the two teams wins. Now, there are a lot of games, not all, but there are a lot of games that are usually really competitive, and probably beat the spread, cover the spread one way or the other. There's certainly some that have been real duds, and I've been to a few of those too. So yeah, but I'm with you. I'm with you. Talent usually wins out at the end of the day, and I think South Carolina's got a little bit of an advantage in most of those spots there going into this game. But we'll see how all of that ends up playing out.
Yeah, since 2000, South Carolina's beaten Clemson 8 times. 6 of those wins have been over ranked Clemson teams. So they've beaten when Carolina, the last one in 13 was Clemson was 6th.
Yeah.
Well, it was a double-digit
ACC
spread 2 years
championship
ago, wasn't it?
teams too, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the fun part about it. Yeah.
Yeah, Clemson was a 14.5 point favorite 2 years ago. Carolina wasn't ranked. Clemson was in the top 10. So it was one of the rare upsets in the series.
That would have to be one of the biggest of all time for Carolina over Clemson. 14.5 point dog and a win.
Yeah,
I
I'll say this
actually
too.
think it was.
I would think so.
You're right. It's like the best team usually wins, but also the team playing the best. Like last year, both teams came in pretty having won, but Clemson was just a little bit more impressive. Notre Dame, North Carolina, they were scoring in the 30s. Gamecocks beat Jacksonville State and struggled. Vandy, who was done by then, cooked, and then a big emotional win against Kentucky, set by 3 points. Clemson was probably playing better, and it's still a good game. Clemson's defense was just dominant. But in 2022, South Carolina, I think, was playing better than Clemson at that point, but based on the win over Tennessee. But you're right. I mean, it's not like Alabama and Auburn, where if that game were in Jordan Hare this weekend, I would almost tell you to a man Alabama's in trouble. But that one's
Agreed.
a little bit more unpredictable. I think this one you can feel good if you're playing better ball right now.
John, before we got to hit a break here, just a couple of minutes. But final thoughts on the game, something you'll be paying attention to early, and give us your synopsis on what's going on right now with Carolina hoops. They desperately need to beat Virginia Tech tonight at 6:00 on Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, and I mean, I just think if South Carolina plays as it has been on the defensive side, and the defensive line is able to do what it's done all year against Clemson's kind of banged up but getting healthier offensive line, I think South Carolina should probably win this game. I noticed somebody pointed out today on the Big Spur message boards, and I thought it was very interesting that some guys at Pro Football Focus had a podcast where they pointed out that Clemson's faced 4 pretty good, solid defensive lines this year. Louisville lost, Georgia lost, Pittsburgh almost lost, and one other, and that was a really tight ball game. So, if Clemson's going up against a good defensive line, which they will be this weekend, it hadn't been easy for them. So, I think that's kind of the biggest key, and I think that's where South Carolina can probably win this game is up front. But from a basketball standpoint, I mean, tonight's game to me, I think is a big deal. Lamont Paris kind of brushed aside the notion that nothing about tonight, but what they've done up to this point was disqualifying in any kind of nature or concern for any nature or for what's to come down the road. Said, it's basketball. You have the opportunity to figure out yourselves early, and once you do, you start playing better basketball, and you'll be where you want to be in the end. So, in talking about I'm assuming from an NCAA tournament standpoint. So, I do think that today is a big deal. You've got to start winning. some games against good competition. And I saw Boston College had a last second win yesterday to move to 6-1. That's next up after this one. So they've still got some opportunities out there against good teams. Clemson's not too far down the road. They're top 30 in the Ken Palm ranking. So, but you got to win a couple. You don't have to win all of them. I know there's some folks out there who are saying, well, the NCAA tournament's gone. I mean, you've lost 2 games away from home against top 25 teams, and plus a bad loss. Nothing has been disqualifying in nature up to this point. But at some point, you got to start to build a resume instead of having just black marks on there. So I think tonight is a big deal.
John, what has Lamont said most recently about Cam Scott?
We haven't asked about him in detail lately. And to be honest, that was something I was going to ask him about after today's game, just because I wanted to see a little bit more sample size on him, right? Like his minutes increased a little bit this past game. It felt like I don't have the numbers to back that up on me
18.
right now. But yeah, like I thought he played with a little bit. I thought he played better defensively against Xavier the other night than he had been. I thought he was on the floor when South Carolina kind of got things going a little bit on the defensive end. I thought he's played better, and maybe that's why his minutes were as good. He has not hit the 3 ball well. He didn't come in as a dead eye sharpshooter, but he's a guy you expect to not knock down shots at a greater rate than he has from distance. And we saw a glimpse of what he could do on making the move from top of the key for the dunk, and then he had the little slash through the lane and kind of one-handed jumper that was erased because of the shot clock violation. Hopefully you start to see a little bit more of that, but that was, that's one guy who I wanted to find out a little bit more about from Lamont soon. But after there was a little bit of a sample size, I didn't want to be the guy asking about Cam Scott after every game. It's kind of like Nick Harbor early in the season when Shane was finally just like, he's just a wide receiver, guys. Like I'm tired of hearing about it. So, but I think there's a point now that there's enough games there where it's like, okay, well, how do you assess where Cam Scott is? And, I think I thought he made a little bit of a jump from last week and into this game against Xavier, and maybe he can add to that tonight against Virginia Tech.
Carolina comes in 80th in the Ken Palm ratings. Virginia Tech is 127. John, thank you so much for all of your time. Always, we surely are better when you're on each week. Safe travels back home. Enjoy the ball game tonight. Hopefully they give you something good to write about. Most importantly, I don't know what your plans are for Thanksgiving, but hopefully it's enjoyable. Happy Thanksgiving, my man.
I will be in the Pathfinder for most of my Thanksgiving, but we will be celebrating on Friday with the family. So I will certainly have my fill of turkey and all the good goodies and sides as well. Just 24 hours later than everybody else. So appreciate you guys having me. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Thanks, John.
Of course, John.
Same to
of
you.
course.
There you go.
Man.
The great John Whittle. All right, it's the end of the hour. Powered by Electric Bikes of Charleston. If you head to the app, Chief Sports app. It's free. Pull it up. Right there, you'll see the Chief Holidays section. They're in there. And somebody needs an ED for Christmas. It might be your daughter, son, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, grandma. Who knows? Might be you. ElectricBikesCharleston.com. ElectricBikesCharleston.com this holiday season. When we return, Pat DiMarco will be here. Stephen will be in too. He's wrapping up a Friendsgiving thing he does for all the kids he trains down in Tampa. And we'll fuss and discuss, talk some ball with Garcia and Pat, who, they went up there and won in 2010. Y'all remember that? Garcia, touchdown, DiMarco, 47, corner of the end zone.
Yep.
They know what it's like to win in the upstate. We got Mike Tribe around the SEC, brought to you by Love Chevy. We have a Carolina Clemson infused Fab 5 and we have a lot of fun. It's Wednesday. It's ITG. We'll be right back.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website GG
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
If you're a fan of music, incredible storytelling,
One of our friends had met this beautiful girl at the bar that night.
a bit of history, you should check out my new show, Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis. Every episode features a unique South Carolina town, a different stage, and music from world-class singer-songwriters.
Constant sorrow through his day.
Join me for Southern Songwriters with Patrick Davis.
Back to Carolina.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lori Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lori Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, in Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Gamecock owned and operated. Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com.
Number 2. Welcome back. Inside the Gamecocks, the show built by the Barndo Co. and brought to you by our friends at Resto Pros. It is Thanksgiving. We all have a lot to be thankful for, like family, friends, football, our health, all that we're thankful for in our lives. Speaking of life and health, Mike?
Oh, see, that's smooth. Right there.
Yeah.
Can we just go ahead and nominate South Carolina Sportscaster of the Year, Jamie Bradford, for the smooth segue on Lurie Life and Health, presented by Joel Lurie. Over 100 years of combined experience helping clients and agents with Medicare, health, and life insurance. Even if it's not for you specifically, certainly you can keep your family involved in all of this, and they know the challenges that you face overcoming the obstacles to find the right solutions. Service is free. Did I mention that? FREE free, 803-256-2067. And a great suit from Brent Skinner is not free. But I'll tell you what, this is an Amex. This is the Delta Sky Miles Amex. This is my baby. Between now and the end of the year, you buy a custom suit from Brent Skinner, I'm buying you the tie. You buy 3, I'm buying you 3 ties. If you're a big baller and you're buying like 20, like these guys, Garcia and DiMarco, they're ballers. If you buy 20, that might be a little bit out of my range. I have to cap it somewhere, maybe like 5 ties. But go ahead, say hello to Brent and the staff over there in the Vista. Also, if you in Charleston, Greenville, or somewhere else, Brent will come to you if you really want to get your wardrobe done right. He does house calls all the time for people across the country. The very best in threads. You will be looking absolutely stunning thanks to Brent Skinner and the job that they do over at Skinner, BS Skinner Clothiers. So go ahead and check them out as well.
Speaking of house calls, we head to the home of the great Stephen Garcia and the home of the great Pat DiMarco, the co-hosts of Tailgate Talks, which is, of course, part of our network here. We didn't have Pat on Monday. Stephen, I know, is in the middle of some stuff, so we're not going to keep you forever. But it's Clemson Carolina week, and there's nobody better that we'd rather have than you two, who connected in the end zone in the Upstate 14 years ago. We're getting old, boys.
Is that Bud Heavy you're drinking, Stephen?
That's right.
Is that the King? Yo, dude.
I got an ice cold LaCroix.
I got a busy. I just got done training. I got a busy day of brining turkeys and stuff today.
Sweet, dude. I love it.
So I knocked all that out this morning.
Hey, I have a holiday drink for all of you. It's
bourbon.
I discovered it maybe I mentioned it last year. Well, close. Have y'all tried the salted caramel Crown Royal?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
just for
not sound appetizing at all.
Have you ever had the liqueur rum chata? Have y'all ever had that? It's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Equal parts, one shot to one shot, or Stephen, in your case, 6 to 6.
Okay.
Salted caramel Crown, rum chata, ice cube, like a big ice cube or ice cubes. That's it. It is the most spectacular holiday drink on the planet. I only had 4 last night.
Right.
I had 5.
How many of those were
if
after
you
the rankings drop?
No, they were after a couple of vodkas of them. For what? Anyways, nobody wants to hear about that. Stephen, Pat, we'll start with Stevens. I know you got to run here just a minute. You got your boys and all that stuff going on, man. But one of the neat, we mentioned this in the last segment. One of the neat things about this rivalry now is the fact that there's a college playoff berth on the line for both teams. It's going to raise the rivalry from a national relevance standpoint. But what all the people across the country don't understand, that you two understand as well as anybody ever, is this thing is freaking intense. And Stephen, Lenore Sellers is going to get his first start in Death Valley on Saturday. It's a noon game. What was your first start like up there? What will he be going through?
I mean, first off, it's not the real Death Valley. Let's get that out of the way. Especially a noon game. I mean, I'm sure Pat can attest to this, especially, his time in the NFL. I mean, I absolutely hated noon games because you are up early at the crack of dawn and you got, I mean, you're right into it, as opposed to like the 7:30 games. We do the walkthroughs, we'd have breakfast, team meal, take a nap, kind of watch a little bit of college football. Kind of get in the rhythm of things. But this, as far as Lenores goes, I mean, hell, I don't think it's going to be any different. I think he's going to be ready to rock and roll no matter what. I mean, he's playing, as we've talked on this show several times, he's playing with such confidence, and I mean, you can see it through the screen. It's kind of awesome to see. And I know Pat and I were just talking. We're gonna have to throw some jingle at him to keep him in Columbia, I think.
I think the good part is he's an in-state kid, and I think that will definitely lean into it. Just in the hour and a half we spent with him when we recorded with him, like he's about all the right stuff. I don't think. Obviously he's worth every dollar he gets. Hopefully he stays here, but I don't think that we should be too worried about him going somewhere just because of what his recruiting process, and obviously us being loyal to him and all that. But dude, I'm the opposite, man. I guess it might just be like the fullback mentality, but like game day hit, and I'm just like, I'm ready to put my helmet on. I'm ready to go. Like an early game was what I wanted. I didn't want to lay around. Like I wanted to get up and go. There's like mutual respect, mutual hate, and also like mutual love for each other in this rivalry. And like the love's in a weird way, like love to just get after each other. And I think that's part of the mutual respect. All the tension and stuff that was had, fights before. Obviously, DJ Swearinger punted a ball out of the end zone when he picked off a long snap pregame, ruffled some feathers. But I expect us to go up there and play with the same mentality we played with all year. I don't think it really changes much. Last night I did the Carolina Calls show over at Backstreets, and Coach Beamer was talking, and one of the questions was, how do you like kind of dial back the intensity of this game? Like it's going to get chippy, it's going to be on edge, and he's like, this is all stuff we've talked about going into this week. Like it doesn't really just because we're playing Clemson, just because there's playoff potentially on the line. Like we want to go out, and this is one of the 12 regular season games we have this year. Obviously, it weighs a little bit more, but we're going to go at it with the same mentality and not make it bigger than it really is.
Yeah, I feel like that's more difficult now than ever because there's so much. We have all these different forms of communication. You pick up your phone, it's in your face, whatever it is. And now you've got the play. Carolina is in contention, guys, to make the college football playoff. Let that sink in for a second. You got rivalry week, you got the playoffs. It's got to be probably a little bit different and more difficult for Coach and his staff to keep those guys from getting distracted. I would say this, though, and y'all have both been seniors. When you've got a bunch of seniors like they do, especially good ones who play and they're the leaders of the team, it's probably much easier for those guys to keep the rest of them focused, Stephen.
Pat had senior night and senior day and walked through the stadium. I did not make it the full senior deal.
We know that.
So that was kind of shitty, but it is what it is.
Had that stolen from you.
Thanks, Eric Hyman.
Was that Eric or was that Coach?
I know that's I in my little dream world, I'm just going to blame Eric Hyman because I blame him for other stuff. So
that's
I didn't really jive with that guy. I kind of didn't think he was a winner, but that's just my.
Yeah, me neither.
Hey,
some people just aren't. I bet he wouldn't be drinking a Bud Heavy the day before Thanksgiving, would he?
No.
What a loser. Anyway,
what a loser!
He's not. He's just a loser. That's awesome.
Anyway, what you got? What we about to say, Pat?
They're eating the dogs.
I got nothing.
Can I throw one
Pat,
actual?
When you yeah,
Go
ahead, Mike.
Well, I was going to do a sharp detour to the actual game, but the matchup here. One thing I will say for Clemson is that whatever was going on in Cade Klubnik's head early on, he's kind of figured some things out. And for me, the intriguing matchup is he's playing his best ball, but he's also about to play the best defense he's seen all year. So, how does that shake down? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think if we stop the run and tackle well on the perimeter, then if we make Cade Klubnik drop back and have to hold on to the football and throw it down the field, they're screwed. And I mean, that's where we thrive too. The last 2 weeks, we have struggled stopping the run and tackling on the perimeter. It's not been, I don't think there's any hiding from that. The last 2 weeks have not been our best 2 weeks defensively. But I mean, if we can, I would put an extra guy in the box, make him try to throw it over your head. And as long as they don't pop one or break a tackle somewhere, I don't see. It might be. I'm usually not this biased that we're going to go kick ass, but I think if we do that, man, this game. If Lenore's plays well and we don't turn the ball over, this is ours to lose.
Steven?
Yeah, no, I think Pat's 100% right. Having TJ Sanders and Kyle Kennard, that's literally what they were saying too. And I think Pat hit the nail on the head. Just make him beat you with his arm, and we just got to keep doing what we're doing on offense. And I honestly think we're going to beat the hell out of them. I really do.
Yeah, Lenore Sellers is playing as good a football as any quarterback. Matter of fact, he's playing better football than any quarterback in the SEC, and therefore I think you put him in that conversation around college football as well. But Steven, look, man, with his confidence and his play, we've had wideouts emerge, and now you've got weapons. Josh Simon is expected to be back for the game this weekend. Nick Harbor has been running crisp routes, catching the football. Elvon Campbell. You start getting 3 and 4 weapons out there, and you got a guy named Rocket Sanders. There's a reason that offense right now is clicking just like anybody else in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I think, as we've talked about in the past couple of weeks on the show, I think the offensive line is kind of getting more, gelled together, and, that happens when you get, game reps. So, yeah, it's the perfect storm for Carolina football. So, I think we go into the fake Death Valley. I think we beat their ass, and I think we put on a good showing, enough to, get into the playoffs. That's obviously, I'm biased and I'm hopeful, but I generally feel like that's what's going to happen. And we need to do it. I think we need to go in there and absolutely just beat the brakes off of them to kind of show the playoff committee, whoever the hell those morons are, that we deserve to be in, the 12 teams.
That's a good segue. I would love, you guys have done a lot more analysis of this than Steven and I have. What needs to happen for us to get in? Obviously we beat Clemson, but it ain't that easy. There's the 6 conference champions get in, and then 6, the 6 other teams that the committee votes on,
5 and 7, Pat. It's 5.
5 and 7.
Yeah, the top 5 conference champions.
Group of 5, yep.
Yeah, including the group of 5. So if there's 2 group of 5s ranked higher in the committee than a Power 4, those 2 would get in. So
the Big 12 could get shut out. So South Carolina, all right, besides beating Clemson, they actually need Syracuse to beat Miami so Clemson can move to Charlotte and win the ACC and get in, because a win over a conference champion would be very impressive. Yeah. And they need Miami to lose. Some people say they need SMU to lose. I don't think they're going to take 2 ACC teams. I think that would just be a joke, but I guess they're talking about it. Vanderbilt beating Tennessee at Vandy would be important. That sounds like a long shot, but Tennessee's really been playing kind of like in that 24-17 range all year.
Yeah.
And Vandy can win those games. I'm not ruling that out. Auburn winning the Iron Bowl would be good. There's other things like Mississippi State winning the Egg Bowl. That's not happening. Or Purdue, who's god awful, beating Indiana. Notre Dame losing to Southern Cal would help too. So there's just a lot. The more chaos, the better.
We're going to need 3 upsets, I think, to be. I think we're going to need at least 2 to 3 upsets to even be considered, which sucks because if you look at, we started 3 and 3. You look at our, if we beat Clemson, or you look at our last 6 games, we're one of the best teams in the country, and there's no doubt about it. I just wonder how much the second half of the year and those 6 games in a row, how much they weigh. If the committee truly says that.
isn't that the whole purpose of this damn committee? Like, you take the 12 best teams, if
right,
regardless of if it's at the beginning of the year or the middle of the year or the second part of the year. Or,
I'm
right?
a little more optimistic, Pat, in that I just
Steven.
feel like, first off, Clemson being ranked as highly as it is, and most people think they got overranked, is actually a blessing. Okay. That, and if what you guys are saying actually comes to fruition, in other words, this is not just a win, this is a beatdown. If that happens, even if Ole Miss wins, but it's competitive in the Egg Bowl, and Alabama wins, but it's competitive in the Iron Bowl, I'm still clinging to, if you look at those resumes at that point, Carolina's got a real strong case to be the best of those 3 lost teams, playing the best football with the fewest amount of bad losses, in fact, 0, and the most amount of road victories, which we constantly are told is so important. Anybody's real good on their home field, but what about teams on true road games? Well, Carolina would have everybody trumped in that category in the SEC. So I know it's going to take a little bit of creativity by the committee to not just be lazy analysis, but I'm a little more optimistic than some on that.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if they put it through like an artificial intelligence simulation. I wonder what that would come up with.
Well, that'd be a great, actually, Steve. I mean, I guarantee you
idea.
there's somebody out there that'll tell you who the Vegas favorite would be right now. And like, if Carolina played Alabama neutral field, Carolina played Ole Miss neutral field, I have a strong feeling that Carolina would be a Vegas favorite. And take that for what it's worth. But the thing that you love about Vegas is that Vegas has no bias. Vegas doesn't care. Vegas is not a fan of anybody. Vegas just looks at it nuts and bolts and says, this is the better team right now.
Yeah,
I think Vegas will be on Carolina's side personally.
I'm surprised that, Pat and I were talking. I'm surprised that Clemson is a 2.5 point favorite right now.
Yeah. But that's another one too, where I think that's actually a blessing, because what they're doing, I mean, everybody out there is kind of pumping up Clemson right now. The committee is pumping them up. Clemson's a 2.5 point favorite. I think they were as high as 5, Jamie? I think it was somewhere at one point in that ballpark before money started coming in on Carolina. But
I know
all that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. And y'all pointed out the road victories. I mean, Carolina is not just, I mean, we'll see what it looks like this weekend, but they weren't just winning on the road. They were beating the crap out of everybody on the road. I mean, embarrassing them in their own ballparks. Y'all know how hard that is. Alabama just went to Oklahoma, where South Carolina won by 26 points and lost by 21.
Yeah.
And that's a brutal loss.
That is brutal.
That and Ole Miss's brutal loss to Kentucky. Carolina doesn't have that. They don't have any loss that they're embarrassed about. It's disappointing. LSU should have been a win. Alabama could have been a win, but there's nothing on that resume. Even the Ole Miss game at home, Ole Miss just recently was a top 10 team.
Well, how they have to structure it, they have to follow their own rules, which they don't, because they're a bunch of hypocrites. They're just like politicians. They sit there and they're like, well, we're going to consider things like injuries. They eliminated 13 wins last year because of an injury, right? That didn't count for Florida State. Now, I'm not saying Bama wasn't the better team. That was the right call, but they just did this, okay? All right, so the whole point of comparing the head-to-head with Ole Miss, Bama, and Carolina is they're all 3 lost teams. We'll go back to the LSU game, and I'm just going to take the fact the refs screwed them, and the whole country said that. That's not just a Gamecock opinion. That's everybody's opinion. You can't count that, right? Who didn't play the second half against LSU while they came back and won? Lenore Sellers.
Lenore. Yeah.
Why in a game? Hey, buddy. Right. Why in a game like that would that not count? Why would that not come under consideration? Because you have a 2-loss Texas who's played one good team and gotten throttled, ranked ahead of said team that has 2 losses. So if you count Carolina like a 2-loss team, wouldn't, based on Sellers being injured, would they not get the benefit of the doubt? That's the little extra thing that's written in their bylaws or their criteria that they're just ignoring. Ward and those guys, I don't understand it.
That's a very valid point. But as we talked about earlier, there's nobody playing better football. And I'm not even saying this as, as a former player, as a biased, opinionator. There's nobody playing better football than us right now in the last 5 or so weeks. There really isn't.
I would say that honestly. I'm gonna push
You're gonna have
back.
to
I would say that
continue to
prior to the last 2 weeks.
Prove that this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think we played great against Missouri. We did what we needed to do and won. And like the first half against Wofford, we looked like shit.
Oh, that's fair.
So like, but the 3 weeks prior, we were playing our best football. So I mean, I would say like KUTT cut, like we need to put our money where our mouth is on this game, and if we can go out there and beat Clemson by 10 plus points and have our way with them, like I think that is the anchor that we put our hat on. So this is a big game, and it's like if we win in a 2 to 3 point, one way or the other, like kick field goal to win the game, it's a big win. But man, that might be the straw that broke the camel's back.
No, I think you're right on that. I think we have to beat them by double digits to get some sort of consideration. But if it's like you're saying, if it's a couple, last second field goal, I don't think we're gonna make it.
Agreed.
But crazier shit has happened, so who knows?
Scores could get lopsided. I've found when, as Pat said earlier, with his key to the game, if you got a drop back throw game, and the defensive line, I guess is like what the kids call these days they're eating. And Carolina has had games like that this year where that line has just kicked somebody in the teeth. If that happens and they're sacking Klubnik and that's the scenario I think that could happen, like an Oklahoma or Kentucky type of pull away.
I'll ask you too, Stephen, early in the game Saturday, it's going to be 80,000. It's going to be cold. It's going to be loud and the whole, everything about this rivalry being a quarterback in that ballpark. What is something that maybe they will do to get Lenoris Sellers, eased into the ball game, as opposed to, having 2 or 3 drives where maybe things are kind of stalling out now? Like what do you think their early game plan would be to get him comfortable?
I mean, I think you just continue what he's been doing the last couple of weeks. But I mean, me personally, I liked either, doing an RPO and just taking it and running it, kind of knock the cobwebs off, or just, throwing a freaking bomb, just kind of get the adrenaline going and just kind of shake the cobwebs off. And, then you're kind of settled down. But, from everybody that I've talked to and around the team, and, when Pat and I actually had a conversation with him, I mean, he is as even keel as possible. He's never too high, never too low, just kind of locked in at all times. So I don't think they changed what they've been doing the last couple of weeks. I don't know if Clemson's going to be planning on throwing batteries and water bottles and shit like that, but try to rattle his cage.
I think somebody in that fan base once accused a Carolina fan of throwing a baby off the top of the stadium or something. It's a very strange group up there.
Well, that's acceptable. It is a rivalry game,
according to the message boards. I mean,
according to the message boards, a baby was. Yeah. All right, Pat. Final thoughts and prediction here on this ball game, man.
I mean, I think if we can play from ahead and kind of get Lenoris confident and make Clemson drop back and throw the ball, I mean, I like a 27-10 victory Gamecocks. Yeah, boys.
I like that. Yeah, 27th. I'd take that all day long.
Playoff bound with that score.
Steve, I done did it. I did the damn thing.
I like that.
I like
you taking cut bets on that one? Clemson plus 17. That'd be a fun one to do. Well, I'll give you a little sneak peek on the Fab Five. You go back to what you're talking about. Will Phil Maffa rush for a touchdown? See, I don't think Clemson has enough confidence that they want to turn this into a drop back game, and they're going to try to ground and pound.
Sorry, say that again.
Well, Jamie's freezing up a little bit, but he asked your final thoughts.
I was going to just
What, like score prediction or just final thoughts?
Yeah, score. Yeah, give us a score, dude.
I mean, I said, I forgot what I posted, but I think it was like 38-17. yeah, I think we're gonna kind of put the pedal to the metal, and because like we've been saying, man, we got to kind of show this committee that we're one of the best 12 teams in the country, and the only way to do that is kind of just beat their ass and score a lot of points. So that's kind of what I'm going with. Again, I don't think Death Valley is an extremely hard place to play in, especially at noon. So yeah, I kind of like us to go in there and just never take the gas off the pedal.
Well, there'll be 15,000 Gamecock fans there too. I mean, it's not. It's a big road crowd either way.
Right.
It's loud. If they get going, you're down in that hole. They'll scream. I mean, it's a loud place, but it's when it's up there, Carolina usually brings a lot of people, and it's especially when Carolina starts winning. Yeah. It's.
I mean, and I think this year, more so than previous years, just with the playoff implications. I mean, people are excited about the possibility of being in the playoffs, and I know Clemson obviously has their dreams and aspirations too, but I think we got a lot more fight in us and a lot more to get a little more willpower. So yeah, I think we whipped their ass.
If Clemson wins, they're in, right?
Yeah, I would assume.
They set that up, yes, to where they are in, and it would also guarantee the ACC 2 spots.
Yeah, assuming Miami beats Syracuse.
Yeah.
I got some numbers
100%
that say that the outcome of that game really won't matter. That if we take into account what the committee has said through this whole process this year, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth, and it's not really not really pretty.
And one thing I've noticed, I'll just finish up with this because I know we got off. Usually, these guys tinker and tinker and tinker, and then the last one, everybody's like, whoa. Teams will move up 7-8 spots. They'll move out even with wins. It's
what it is.
If you look at the 4-team playoff, that's kind of how they rolled. But it's still maddening to listen to them now.
The last one, to your point, JC, that's what I call market correction Sunday, because these first few, they don't really matter. They get people talking, and I think the committee just kind of plays it safe. But they know when there's actually stuff on the line and it's nut cutting time, then all of a sudden you see like what you saw last year where Alabama leapfrogged Florida State. Obviously that took a key injury to do it, but they still did it when a lot of people, when they knew they were going to take a absolute crap storm for doing it, they still did it. And I would just add, I'm not 100% sure if Clemson wins this game they're in. I don't think that's a mathematical certainty, because I'm not 1,000% sure the ACC deserves 2. Just
deserves and will get
completely
different things.
True. But I mean, most people think Clemson got a gift with their ranking in this poll, and I don't know if winning as a favorite at home against Carolina, let's say it's a close win, I don't know if that's that's their best win at that point, like by far. What else does Clemson have to chew on or flex about?
But that goes into that, like right now, put the ball down. We've been playing the best football potentially in the country. So, I mean, that kind of defends if they do win. So, I mean, there's so many different scenarios we could chase. I could drive myself nuts doing this or chasing around 4 kids, which I'm about to do here shortly.
That's right.
So,
put some Tito's in that LaCroix. You might need it.
Yeah.
The latter is definitely more rewarding, though, Pat. Yeah.
Who is on today's episode of Tailgate Talks?
We had 2 current guys that I think are about to go absolutely nuts on Saturday. We had Kyle Kennard and TJ Sanders, 2 freaking awesome kids, awesome human beings, about the right stuff. Wear the garnet and black proudly. Kyle's got 2 kids. He's supporting his family. He's basically sat there on the interview and told us, he's like, NIL's been awesome, but like, I'm looking forward to next year when I'm making real money, making sacks in the NFL. And TJ kind of reiterated that too. So 2 awesome guys, extremely entertaining, extremely sharp, well-spoken, coached by 2 gangsters of coaches, Travian Robertson and edge guy. Sterling Lucas, who played at NC State. So it was awesome. Hopefully y'all listened to it. It was extremely entertaining.
Well, guys, and you're right, they are going to the NFL, both of them, and both of them might be first-round draft picks as well. Can't thank you enough. So glad and honored to call you longtime friends. Y'all do a killer job on Tailgate Talks. It was perfect to have you together today on our program. Happy Thanksgiving to both you and your wives and your families and your parents. All good people. And we look forward to hopefully talking about a win and maybe the playoffs next week.
You guys have a jolly old Thanksgiving.
Jolly. Thanks, guys, man. It was great. Great to see you, Steven. Take Bud Heavy, man.
Cheers, boys. Yes, sir.
Cheers.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Talk to y'all later.
Same to you.
You guys,
Happy
happy
Thanksgiving. Pat and
Sorry, I had to leave that in. It was,
See, I'm usually off on Wednesdays. I don't get the joy of having the Garcia segments, but that was joyous. Don't you guys think?
He is a joyful person.
Life.
I mean, the Bud Heavy is awesome. Yeah, have you guys ever read the description on the Budweiser bottle? It's like a poem. This is the famous Budweiser beer.
Yeah.
We know of no other beer brewed with the blah blah blah. Something about obs, and I don't know. It's long. It's you could get up. It's like the pledge. You can like recite it like the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't drink Bud Heavy anymore, but I used to.
When I was a kid, Oh yeah. What do you drink now? Miller Lite?
I'm a Miller Lite guy. I during the pandemic I switched to White Claw.
Oh,
like a non-male. Because it was hot that summer, remember? So my beer and keep in mind I had nothing to do, so it's basically drank all the time. And so my beer would get hot and I can't stand it hot. It was making me sick. So I was like, and I'm not going to put ice in the beer. No, it's because I didn't have anything to do, Jamie, except when you finally called me you called me and I did your show, and then that's how we're here. But that's what
that's how that works.
Well, and so I was looking for something, and I don't drink liquor, I stay away from the liquor. But so I discovered White Claws. First it was Truly, but that's Truly's are nasty. It's like White Claw. So I started, but the problem with White Claw is it's about 5% alcohol, and I drink it like water.
Yeah,
like it goes down, but you could put ice in it. It stayed cool. So that lasted about through a football season, and then one day I think we went to bingo, and I just switched back to Miller Lite, and I really Miller Lights, and I've not picked up a White Claw since. So I got my man card back. We all struggled a little bit during COVID. Okay, some of us with certain things, and so that's my COVID story. I drank a bunch of White Claw and watched old concerts on YouTube with my wife.
Speaking of man card, Jamie, I know we got to take a break like 7 minutes ago, but I have a man card question for you regarding your background when we come back.
Yeah, he gets a pass on that. Yeah, he gets a pass.
I mean,
but that's fine. I
will be a bastion of masculinity compared to that background and that bedspread.
I will answer it honestly. That's for sure. We also do have some injury news on the Clemson side of things to get to as well. We are brought to you by our friends at Gamecock Traditions. Guys, it's the holiday season. If you're going to buy something with a Carolina logo on it, where the hell else are you going to go? Matter of fact, you don't have to go anywhere, but pick up your phone and head to GamecockTraditions.com. It'll be sent to your doorstep, whatever it is. There's always a sale, and there's always a Black Friday sale too, which is just a couple of days away. Gamecock Traditions, 2 locations, the Village at Sandhill and Lexington. GamecockTraditions.com. It's right there on the homepage of the app. Click the Chief Holidays section and get your Christmas shopping done early. GamecockTraditions.com. More on the backdrop of my mobile studio in Delaware and some football when we return.
'Twas the holiday season at Love Chevrolet, and more than just Santa needed a sleigh. Mom needs a Tahoe to taxi the team, but drives a Corvette in all of her dreams. For Dad, a new truck is just fine by him, like a rugged Silverado in the high country trim. Sister wants a Blazer in hot cherry red. For me, a new Trax, her young brother said. Grandma can't wait to open that box. She hopes it's a key to her new Chevy Equinox. For gifts such as these, on this very day, there's no greater place than Love Chevrolet. Find them in Harbison between Frankie's and Lowe's, or lovechevy.com, as everyone knows. For a deal like no other, stop by or just call. Merry Christmas from love to one and to all. Together, let's drive.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever, and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks!
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
Final segment of hour 2 inside the Gamecocks, the show. Welcome back. Brought to you by Tony Pope. TonyPope.com. Real quick here before Mike makes fun of my mother-in-law's house. The Clemson offensive line is having some issues. I know Trent Howard's been playing a bunch. Tristan Lee, the left tackle, and Marcus Tate, the left guard, have been banged up, and they are questionable for the ball game this weekend, according to Clemson. Trent Howard's been in there. He ain't gonna be in there this weekend. He tore his ACL, according to reports, in practice today. So the Clemson offensive line is having some boogers. You hate to hear that with anybody, but obviously that bodes well for Carolina.
That's big news. He's kind of I listen to all 45. By the way, Dabo Swinney is the Dave Odom of college football, Mike. And then not as far as success goes. Obviously, the guy's 179 and 44.
Did Dabo win back-to-back NITs? I don't think so.
He won back-to-back Peach Bowls or something.
Oh,
I don't know. No.
Hey, by the way, on the back-to-back NITs, Mike, I've been meaning to tell you this. I forgot, and we'll get it all figured out soon. My buddy Darren, who lives down in Tampa, actually not far from Steven.
What up, dude?
Who I can't. He's been basically sent there by our United States government. was sitting at a bar watching South Carolina football just a few weeks ago with a Carolina shirt on. So he went to South Carolina, and the cat sitting next to him said, or asked him if he went. Obviously, he's a Carolina fan. Did you go there? And he said, I sure did. Did you? And he said, yeah, I did. And my buddy said, oh, okay, well, what years were you? He said, well, I played basketball. It turns out it was Torrance Kinsey.
Oh, TK.
Yeah, who he was like, well, my buddy hosts, this show, and he goes, yeah, I've seen it. So they gave me his number, and we're gonna have him on.
Oh, that's awesome!
Oh, sweet, yeah. He and
very
Balkman,
underrated player.
He and Plastic Man both were from Tampa. Of course, Plastic Man had to go to that school in Laurinburg, North Carolina. I don't even think it's a school anymore. But they both were Tampa guys. Dave Odom had the tentacles down there in Tampa.
He did.
But
Kinsey barely played early and then came out of nowhere. And by the way, not only did he make the NBA, at one point he was the NBA Rookie of the Month. Torrance Kinsey had a nice little run in the NBA. So you had the Plastic Man, Ronaldo Balkman. You had Torrance Kinsey. Trey Kelly was just on the cusp. I mean, he was just a hair away from making the NBA. So was Brandon Wallace, for that matter. I mean, a lot of talent.
Wallace got some PT with the Celtics for a little while. The Celtics weren't the Celtics they are now then, but he got a little. Yeah, those were good teams. They should have.
Hey, and for what it's worth, I just add this in. It was a horrible era for basketball shorts.
They were very long
and baggy. Yeah, why did it? And now we're up to the ball huggers again. I don't know. They just can't figure it out.
Well, we're not quite John Stockton.
Larry Bird style. Yeah. There's a picture on my Twitter. If you go to my Twitter page at JC Sherbert, shameless plug to follow me. My middle school basketball pictures on there with my team. Everybody's shorts are up to their jock straps there back in the day. So the Larry Bird shorts, that was the Jordan made it popular to kind of have a little bit of a bag going on.
And the Fab Five.
But yeah, that era, Jamie, you're right. It got nuts. I mean, there was they looked like they were going about to, free flowing. But no, they looked like they were about to star in Aladdin or something with the way they were out. They were like three-quarters of the way down. But old Torrance Kinsey was good. But yeah, so Dabo's a lot of day. So I listened to all 45 minutes. I had to run some errands last night of Dabo's press conference. And the reports were that Marcus Tate would be back and Tristan Lee would be back and all that. But Dabo kind of, I mean, you don't know who's full of what about injuries. My impression was, because he was like, they still have to practice, but he went on and on about Howard kind of being their utility guy. So I don't know what they actually would do if Tate can't go or if he's iffy. Carolina's whole starting O-line played in the game last year against Clemson. They were all at about 55 to 60%. There wasn't a guy that walked out there that was 100. I mean, there's a difference between playing hurt and playing injured. But that's unfortunate for them because I've just listened to Dabo Swinney go on and on about this guy and talk about how valuable he is. So the Gamecocks, as these things continue to happen and the injury situation unfolds on Clemson's offensive line, and you look, there's a big difference on Clemson's offensive production when all this started. I mean, take the Citadel out of it. It started at Virginia, Louisville, and then Virginia Tech clubbed it 16 for 34, 211 yards, sacked 4 times. Pitt, 27-41, 288, and had the game-winning touchdown. He played his butt off, sacked 5 times in that game. Georgia sacked him twice. Before that, he really wasn't getting a lot of pressure. He's very accurate when you don't pressure him. So I think that's still going to be very important for the Gamecocks to find a daggone way to get it done. My guess is Clemson's going to try to get Maffa going and just run him at the Gamecocks and say, stop it. So tackling, you got to be important. You got to be a very sure tackler if you're the Gamecocks Saturday.
Well, and in case you missed it yesterday, that defense, which is headed up by Clayton White, he has been selected as a semifinalist for the Broyles Award, which goes to the nation's top assistant coach. And as Mike has mentioned multiple times around here, needling a little bit, and rightfully so. Wasn't that long ago. A lot of folks just wanted him out the door. Probably glad to have him now. and his guys are going to need to be ready to go this weekend. Kyle Kennard is on Tailgate Talks today with Steven and with Pat. 2 sacks this weekend for Kyle Kennard, guys, and you can take it back 12 years, and he'll break the record that was broken then. Jadeveon Clowney, of course, had 5 and ended up setting the single-season sack record that year. If Kennard gets 2 in the very same ballpark, he's going to break Clowney's record this weekend in his only season with Carolina football. That is just remarkable when you think about it.
Yeah, for a guy that had just sort of a couple of good games at Georgia Tech to get this kind of consistent production this year, I think that's huge. And, you know, there were other edge players Carolina was looking at in the portal last year, some really good ones. And Sterling Lucas and Travian Robertson, Clayton White, they zeroed in on Kennard. Some other schools actually maybe could have ended up getting him, but they passed.
You know, Pat just said something. I didn't realize he had 2 kids. I knew that Demetrius Knight.
Yeah, I knew Knight had 2 kids. I didn't know Kyle had two children, but I mean, those guys are mature. I mean, you listen to both of them talk. I mean, it's the folks at Georgia Tech loved Kyle. They just thought he was inconsistent as a player. You know, and so that was that, but they thought he was an A+ person off the field, and Demetrius Knight too. So that's hats off to, I don't know if it was Paul Johnson or whether it was Jeff Collins that recruited one of those guys. I know Paul recruited Demetrius, but hats off to Georgia Tech for sending 2 outstanding, mature individuals, grown men, to South Carolina.
Wait a second here. That just doesn't even make sense. Think about that for 2 seconds. Demetrius Knight was recruited by, you said, Paul Johnson. It doesn't feel like Paul Johnson has coached football in 20 years, and Demetrius Knight's still in college. That's just crazy.
COVID, man. Yeah. So, yeah, he was an option quarterback, and Jeff Collins, they didn't play him a whole lot on defense. He's primarily special teams. He goes to Charlotte.
That's crazy.
To play for another guy that got fired, Biff Poggi, and balled out at linebacker, and now he's good. Now, I'll say this about Knight. Knight needs to play better this week. He didn't play all that well against Missouri. And
don't challenge him. He's going to tackle you too.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you
don't want that.
I'm safely up here in
you
the
don't want it.
frozen
You don't want
tundra.
any part of that, JC.
I'm just saying. I didn't see a whole lot of him against Wofford. That was kind of a different type of game, but he's going to be important because Clemson's got speed. They like to attack the perimeter. He's got speed. That's a big difference. He's been a big difference in the defense this year with the way he can dissect and laterally get there. I'm convinced Missouri did something a little bit off to kind of Eli Drinkwitz's Carolina, so to speak. That's the only way I can describe it, is they were going to Eli them with their outside run game. And Clayton White even mentioned it. So I don't know that Clemson's going to do that, especially with their line beat up. But Missouri was – Clayton White said in his press conference, almost like a triple option kind of style. So I don't know if that meant cut. They were cut blocking on that. I mean, regardless, it was effective. So I don't know what Clemson will do or how they'll try to attack, but with an offensive line that's kind of banged up, who knows? Obviously, Missouri center was out for the game that Saturday, and they still did a really good job, but it was primarily on the outside. So we'll see what happens. If I'm Clemson, though, and this O-line thing keeps lingering, I'm just going to line up and run it. You know, that's and if you can somehow, some days you're successful, man on man, just blocking. If they can do that, that can back them off a little bit and give them some time to do some things.
As a baseball coach once told me, sometimes you're the dog, sometimes you're the fire hydrant. Yesterday, Mac Brown was the fire hydrant. Mike, we didn't have you on yesterday, but as we end out our hour number 2 here, quick thought. Obviously, you know, they wanted to let him down easy. He said, "Nah, I think I will stick around." They're like, "Yeah, you're not going to stick around. You're out."
Yeah.
So thoughts on that and some potential candidates here that some names have popped up.
Well, first off, I mean, you won't meet a classier person than Mac Brown. I've had a chance to do a few of his games in Chapel Hill, and he's a delight to work with. If that was enough. You know, it's kind of like Dave Odom bought himself some extra time in Columbia because Dave Odom had the reputation of being a really good person, nice guy. People liked him, even though they didn't like the results. That's Mac Brown. And I think Mac thought that would pave the way. And it's not like they've been a disaster. They go to a bowl game every year. They've had some peaks, not a whole lot of valleys, but they just can't get over the hump. And they've never been good enough defensively to really get, no matter how many times they fire coordinators, and they've been through a bunch. So I wasn't surprised. I've kind of been calling for this on JC and Morgan for a while. I just sensed that they weren't going to be able to keep justifying him around, even despite the good vibes. But I will say this: in the Love Chevy driver in the SEC, I've got a list of potential candidates to replace him. Kind of ironic that you brought that up. And there are a few people with some SEC ties to it. JC, I can see you're chomping over there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I said on JC and Morgan Monday, hey, it doesn't look like North Carolina's going to make a change in the JC5.
Did you? I didn't.
Yeah, and you went, and I was like, and then the next thing you know, I'm like, well, golly gee, Mac Brown got fired.
I didn't know that was your actual stance, or if you playing devil's advocate.
It wasn't a stance. He came out publicly and said, I'm coming back. It was
right.
Yeah,
that's what I was going on yesterday when everything started breaking on social. I
just assumed that they would let Mac continue to coach. You know, they brought him back. He and Sally love living in Chapel Hill. You know, we love living in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Almost 17
close
years
to Coach O level.
University of Texas at Austin. We really enjoyed our time here.
That's really good, actually.
It really is.
You kind of stumbled upon one of your better impersonations.
Do y'all think?
Because Matt Brown. Remember Spurrier used to call him Mr. Football when he was at Duke and Mac was in North Carolina.
Yeah,
they have Mr. Football over there that coaches North Carolina. Boy, he's really good.
Hey, do y'all think this might sound like a kind of a bizarre question, but do you think that SMU entering the league and doing what they're doing maybe opened some eyeballs in the administration and Chapel Hill, thinking, "Hey, man, like these guys are about to win 11 games in their first year in the league. What are we doing here?"
Well, first off, it's an indictment of how weak the ACC is. I don't think you can look at it any other way.
I agree with that.
It's not like SMU was tearing it up in the American and bidding for 4-team college football playoffs in any other league they were in. They go in the ACC in year one, they make a quarterback change in like week 3, and here they are. They got a really good chance of winning the league, if not finishing second. What does it say about your ACC as a whole? That's one of the many reasons why I'm not convinced if Clemson won Saturday they should get in. But yeah, I mean, SMU's a phenomenal story. And look, I realize most schools can't do this, but I've got major respect for the flex that they made because, again, so much of the migration and conference realignment is based on, well, how much TV money do you have for me? Well, the ACC had zero for a quote-unquote mid-major team like SMU. And SMU went to the table and said, screw your TV money. We got this. Just get us in and we'll figure it out. Nobody does that, but they did it. And it's to their benefit.
Look, and they've been crapped all over, dude. I mean, they were just like, with the Pony Express and all that, everybody was cheating in the Southwest Conference at that time. They just got caught and were the sacrificial lamb. They shut football down, and then they get banished. Everybody goes to Big 12. They don't get an invite. They're like Conference USA. We barely got back to the American. What are we doing? They're asking to join the Pac-12. Meanwhile, TCU gets the golden girls of the Metroplex, TCU, get the invite to the Big 12, and oh my God, and they're playing for a national championship. SMU's coach 3 years ago walked out the door, and went to TCU. Left. Yeah. I'm going to TCU right down the road, your rival. And then proceeded to play for national title. We talk about caged animal syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
That was a caged animal move if I've ever seen one. And they're in the perfect league because, my God.
And it fits Because if you've been to that campus, it's an ultra wealthy private school with a small stadium, and there's nothing about it that says like SEC fan base. But in the ACC, they fit right in with Wake and Duke and
Stanford,
and Cal.
Yeah, they're like a Wake Forest in Texas that's a little shady that cares about football. Probably the difference between Methodist and Baptist there, because Wake's a Baptist school. So,
it's Wake with oil money.
Yeah, the Methodist will say hi to you in the liquor store. That's the difference between Methodist and Baptist.
Obviously,
I'm just joking.
Obviously, out of time here. Totally hypothetical question. Totally hypothetical. If SMU played Texas or Texas A&M, who would win and by how much?
Oh, I think the magic would run out on Texas because here's the deal: SMU's beating everybody they're supposed to beat, but that difference on the line of scrimmage, I think, would be exposed against the Texas schools. I could be wrong, and hell, I'd love to see SMU do it, but I just think they'd be overmatched on the line of scrimmage. That's the separator. They got skilled guys, and they got guys that can go to the league, and their quarterbacks balling, but I don't think they'd win in the trenches.
They're ninth in the country.
According to Ward Manuel, the charlatan used car salesman that happens to run Michigan's athletic department.
Yeah. Who says that they're not scared to put a 3-loss team into the top 12 because they've done it before.
Well, he didn't say 3-loss. He said multiple losses.
Multiple losses.
Had they had more time in that segment, I would hope Reese Davis, who's one of the best out there, would have said, "Okay, give me an example."
Yeah,
I've got him. You want some?
Hey, real quick, I know Ward's not in the Midlands, but he's looking a little frail. He could use a Fiesta pack from Salsaritas to enjoy all the great games while he's, dissecting the numbers and giving us a tremendous analysis on who the top teams are. So if Ward wants to fit into that 56 long jacket that he wears, he can go ahead and just throw down on a Fiesta pack from Suki and the gang at Salsaritas. You can call the catering hotline. This is for all our listeners in the Midlands. 803-543-6297. 543-6297. Suki and the gang will take great care of you, and you'll have everything. You'll get the turkey on Thursday. You'll get the great Tex-Mex for you over the weekend.
Matter of fact, if they put the Gamecocks in the top 12, if Carolina wins this weekend, Salsaritas on me for Ward Manuel and the whole committee. I'll take care of all of it, and Fiesta packs for all 12 of them.
Fiesta packs for everybody. By the way, Ward Manuel, definitely not a BP Skinner client. I don't know who does his suits, but they might want to.
He's the he's the guy you go see when you buy a car that sits in the back and asks you if you want to purchase the warranty.
Yeah.
He's crunching numbers. He's slinging autos. He's giving you max value on your trade-in.
The 84 Celica with 220,000 miles and a broken windshield. She's a runner. She can be yours $39.99.
Look, man, I am not one to talk about people who dress nice, look nice, whatever. You guys see me on this show every day.
That's a good point.
However, I also don't say stuff like, Indiana's schedule's really tough. Because Washington and Michigan, and they beat Nebraska. Sorry, guys, park's closed. Moose outside should have told you. I mean, come on, dude.
You can't top that. We're going to break. We're going to drive around the SEC, though, when we get back.
We got started in 1979. Because we're a manufacturer, we're able to control our costs. That's why we like to manufacture as much of the product as we can, because in our factory stores, we can offer a competitive edge over other people around the country. When people come into one of our Palm Casuals, it's like they're buying their car at Detroit. They're going right to the factory and buying their car.
30-day money-back guarantee. That's a big deal with us. I mean, we give 30 days to do anything. I mean, return it, change it, get a different color, get your money back.
When you pull into a store and it says Palm Casual, you know you're at a factory store.
Oh, man, the building is on fire.
Emergencies and accidents happen. When you're in the middle of a fire or water event, all you want is for things to return to normal as soon as possible. Resto Pros of the Midlands is with you, guiding you through the process and working with you to get your home or office back in working order. They'll answer your questions, discuss procedures, and can act as your advocate when it comes to processing your insurance claim. Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. Open 24/7 when you need them. Quality that is guaranteed.
The electric grid that had been placed under Lambeau so that the field would never freeze.
Those two things are all the NCAA has. That's all they have. They're not worth anything without the men's basketball tournament and now the women's tournament.
Listen to these interviews and more on the JC and Morgan podcast by downloading the Chief Sports app. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com. Thebarndominiumco.com. Gamecock owned and operated.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Touchdown Brewer. Set up the screen, and it goes to Brewer. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown Brewer, his second of the day. Pitches it to Brewer, turns the corner, touchdown, number 3 of the afternoon.
Hey folks, it's Mike Morgan for Ryan Brewer Fence. That's right, you know the former Gamecock legend as a terrific college football player. Well, I know him as that too. I also know him as the guy that runs a great business, one of the best businesses in South Carolina. How do I know that? Well, for one, I'm actually a client of Ryan's. I had my home in Columbia done years ago, and his crew did an outstanding job, just as he does for everybody else. Whether you're in the market for a fence, railings, columns, or anything in between, their craftsmanship, their experience, and service, second to none. Ryan Brewer Fence has over 15 years of experience with consultation and installation of residential and commercial fencing and railings. Rest assured, your job will be done with an unparalleled level of expertise, and it's done on time, and they do it right the first time. Again, you're not going to do any better than Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer Fence. The website is ryanbrewer.net. Set up an appointment today. Tell him Mike sent you.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Disaster comes uninformed. During and after natural disasters or accidents, there can be a heavy loss to property. It can become extremely difficult to bounce back to what you knew before. Having your home or office destroyed or damaged by water, fire, smoke, or mold affects your personal and business lifestyle. Resto Pros of the Midlands is here to help. Open 24/7. Call them when you need them. 803-493-0170. Resto Pros of the Midlands. RestoProsMidlandsSC.com.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Bells ringing down cobblestone Charleston streets. She's the morning sun rising on the horseshoe at USC. She's moonlight on Blackwater, a John Deere down a Greer Farm road, moving nice and slow. No, there ain't nothing like her. She's a southern one of a kind. Even in my dreams I still find her. She's like an old friend awaiting when I close my eyes. And how lucky I am to call her mine. No, you'll never find another like my Carolina. My Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. Talking about my Carolina. My Carolina. South Carolina. South Carolina.
It's now time to take a drive around the SEC.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet. Incredible summer savings all summer long on the entire lineup of award-winning Chevys. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
Here it is.
Oh, yeah. MC Mad Dog Mullinex on the ones and twos. Welcome to the Love Chevy drive around the SEC Thanksgiving style. Love Chevy, Harbison. Home of the $1,000 low price guarantee. Ben Hoover on the Mount Rushmore of ITG sponsors. We appreciate all that he does for everybody, including us, but especially you folks out there in the Palmetto State. If you want a great deal on a Chevy, that is the place to go. I've been driving Chevy rental cars. So that's what National has kind of been spitting out here lately. So I feel like I've been able to test drive just about everything Chevy has on the lot. And you can too. Also check out some of their inventory on the website, lovechevy.com. All right. There's so many things I want to get to. I want to start with joy followed by finding. Find joy. Not found joy, find, F-I-N-E-D, joy. Two more SEC programs fined for field storming. Auburn and Oklahoma combining for $300,000 for violating the league's access to competition area policy. After fans stormed the field following the Week 13 upsets, both programs incurred a $100,000 fine as first-time offenders, but then the Sooners were tagged with an additional $100,000 because they stormed the field early. There's nothing worse than a premature storm. I think they have a pill for that. It's a good way to really tarnish a relationship. So please,
I'm not
no
for any of it.
No premature storming.
I'm not for any of the field storming. I just
are you anti-storm?
I'm just kind of over it. You know, like I expect to win.
You didn't enjoy the storm at Williams-Brice?
Well, I didn't. I don't ever do that. I'm not storm shaming, if that's a thing. I don't know.
Feels like you're storm shaming.
I don't. I mean, like that was Oklahoma. I mean, they're like one of the winningest programs in the history of college football. It's not like they took down number one Alabama. I mean,
that one, yeah, right. Yeah. I didn't mind Carolina in the A&M one. But at the end of the Missouri game, there were a few people who thought they were going to try to run on the field, and there were probably about 1,000 people just up in the uppers saying, "Don't do that! Quit doing! Don't do that!"
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I was standing next to the field for the end of the Missouri game, and our stadium guy, what's his name? Mike, you know him.
Sid Farkas, David Putty.
No, the our stadium PA guy who does basketball too. But anyways, he goes,
with the glasses.
Yeah, he's super. Yeah, he's super.
I
nice.
know exactly what you're talking about. Really good guy. Followed the legendary. I want to say Jim Phillips, not Jim Phillips. Jim Forrest, who I actually worked with for a little bit. That's another Carolina, and then the crowd says first down. That was Forrest, one of the first guys to do that. You hear that in stadiums all over the country now. But yeah, I know. Aiken.
Dave Aiken. Yeah, he goes, fans do not get on the field. Fans do not get on the field.
Yeah.
Fans, and then people ran on the field, and all of a sudden you heard him go, fans, get off the field.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, oh, good, finally, there you go. You got to tell him. Get off.
Well, so I'm trying to think of it now. Who hasn't stormed the field this year in the SEC?
Well, Alabama hasn't.
Well, yeah, Alabama.
Probably Kentucky.
Kentucky hasn't. But okay, let me start with who has. So I was there for Ole Miss when they stormed Georgia. Vandy stormed when they beat Alabama. I will justify that one 1,000 times. Carolina when they stormed at Texas A&M. Oklahoma after beating Alabama, Auburn after in 2 overtimes. I keep wanting to say quadruple overtime.
Oh, yeah. No, 4 overtimes against.
It was 4, wasn't it?
Yeah, Auburn A&M, 4.
Yeah, so I thought I said 4 on JC and Morgan. Somebody corrected me. Okay, so that was.
No, they were wrong. It was 4.
All right, so that was 4. So what is that? 5 or 6 that have stormed. I was just in Gainesville. They did not storm after the win over Ole Miss.
Good.
Well,
Alabama hasn't stormed.
Fall down. They can't do that.
There you go. The George joke.
That's
Tennessee stormed.
Ooh. I don't.
When they beat Georgia,
Alabama. When they beat Alabama 2 years ago, they did.
Yeah.
This year.
What about this year when they beat Georgia? Was that a storm? I can't remember.
They didn't beat Georgia this year. They lost.
Oh, my bad.
Georgia.
Yeah, at Georgia.
My bad.
Yeah,
who was their big win at home this year?
Ole Miss beat Georgia at home. They stormed.
I know, but Tennessee had a big win at home.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Did they do it?
No, they didn't.
Did they storm when they beat Bama?
Not this time.
Really?
I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Really? Okay. Tennessee was above the storm? We'll double check.
I don't remember.
The point being is that I understand where you're coming from, Jamie. I mean, I used to have a partner who I worked with who he was always worried about the safety, about tearing down the goalposts and people getting hurt. And for God's sakes, if you go ahead and you storm and you get in an opposing player's face, I have no sympathy for you if you get your ass knocked out. Like,
That's
you don't
right.
do that. You do not do that. I think the storming looks really cool. It was a great sight at Williams-Brice when they did it against A&M, and you've got that satellite cam overhead, basically looking down, and you see Williams, and Shane is like just engulfed in garnet and black. Like, that's pretty cool. But I can also see the other side. People are like, okay, enough is enough already.
Oh, you know what? But as a correction, they did storm the field after their Bama win this year.
They did.
Fined, only $100,000.
Okay, so Tennessee stormed.
Oh yeah, that knuckleball.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't. Yeah, they did. You're right. They did.
That's like
over half the league.
Tennessee stormed.
Has Missouri stormed the field this year?
Has Missouri stormed?
They stormed UMass after that big win up there.
When they came back to beat, no, they haven't. How about the Oklahoma game? They've been.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure
kind of a miracle, but
I'm pretty certain they stormed last year.
Yeah.
Has Texas stormed the field this year for beating Colorado State?
I don't think there's been a Texas storm in Austin this year. I don't think so. But it's almost got to the point where everybody might as well just pitch in $100,000 before the season starts, and there's your floor/court storming fee. Of course, Carolina had to pay extra because you had, in the same calendar year, a court storm against Kentucky and a field storm against A&M. Again, it's play money for these schools when it does happen, but just thought that was interesting. Here's something that snuck up on me. Do you guys realize I don't think anyone in the SEC in 2024 going into 2025, any football coach is going to get fired?
Probably not.
Probably not. And I tried to do some of the research
but
on
will
that,
they
Mike.
all return? But will they all return to their to their current program?
I mean,
I think there's one possibility.
Kentucky.
I think Kentucky. I think it's just
Okay.
from what I've heard behind the scenes. And because there's a UNC's got interest in Summerall. That's kind of the thought process.
Right.
Two basketball schools slap fighting over the Tulane coach.
Mm-hmm.
But that because it may be like a Georgia firing Mark Richt thing. We can't let Kirby go to South Carolina.
Right.
And I'm so look but that's the only possibility. If I'm Mark Stoops, is Hayden Fry still alive? If not, I'm summoning his ghost and telling him to get Kirk Ferentz the hell out of Iowa City so I can have a job. And I'm leaving on my own. I mean, Kirk Ferentz, dude, it's 8-3 every year, bad offense. So yeah, but that's the only one behind the scenes I'm hearing. Now, Jamie's right though, because with the way college football is now, and I think most coaches are hopeful that rev share is gonna, calm this down. But going and coaching in the pros is a lot more fun these days.
Well, if nothing happens in Lexington, we could have a rare occurrence where there's no turnover whatsoever in the SEC football coaching fraternity. The last time that happened, after 2018, nobody got whacked, and we had a full boat return in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you got to go all the way back to 2005, 2006. 2005, 2006, the last time nobody got the ziggy, to use an old Dick Vitale term. Now, 05, 06, nobody gets whacked. So from 06 to 019, so what is that, 13 years, every year there was at least one change. In fact, there were 29 total coaching changes in those 13 years among SEC football coaches. Who do you think leads the way with the most changes during that time frame?
Tennessee.
Mad Dog gets the prize.
No.
Don't be
close,
like
Jamie.
Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Tennessee was an absolute, debacle from 4 changes to Dooley to Champions of Life. And of course, one of the worst coaching hires, which was made by Phil Fulmer. Let's not forget Mr. McDonald's bag.
That's right.
The former DC at Alabama. So Tennessee led the way with 4. Tied for second was Florida and Arkansas with 3. A&M had 2, as well as Auburn and Kentucky and Mississippi State. Of course, Carolina only had 1 when Steve walked out the door, and that paved the way for Will Muschamp. Bama, Georgia, LSU, Mizzou, and Carolina were low in that category. The low with all tied with 1. But we might have 0 changes. That's very rare these days, especially now in a 16-team league. Some interesting numbers, again, on the gambling front. In SEC conference games only, that's not necessarily gambling. Yeah, I guess it kind of is. The SEC conference games only this year, the underdog won 21 out of 58 games, 36%. Against the spread, SEC underdogs 40 and 18, 69%. Against the spread as an SEC double-digit underdog, the double-digit favorites were 85%, 23 and 4. Speaking of numbers, if the current projected playoff were to pan out, you'd have one SEC matchup, Georgia-Tennessee, which, as we know, already took place. But, boy, they'd have a different predicted outcome of this one because Georgia – sorry?
This is ridiculous.
If they do this, it would suck.
Right,
I
yeah,
mean,
this is –
I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's no way they'll do that.
I mean, why Arizona State? I mean, look at these other matchups. They're
Ohio State
donkey.
might as well just walk right on into Atlanta.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're like, well, you got to play the two games. Like, look what you drew.
Yeah. By the way, the Big 12 could find itself out because if Tulane continues to win out and catches fire, I'm here to tell you, there's no guarantee. As a Power 4 league, you don't get a guaranteed spot. That's a misnomer. So you could have Boise State and Tulane in the playoff, and nobody from the Big 12 in the playoff.
Which is ridiculous because the reality and likelihood of having two ACC teams in there.
What a joke that would be to have Indiana, Boise State, Tulane,
yeah,
SMU, and another ACC team.
And the SEC with 3. Yeah. Good luck with that. I'm telling you right now, if you want to have this thing blown up, that
tomorrow.
Would do it.
Yeah. It'll be
Promise
16 teams next year.
That's my conspiracy theory is that this committee is leaning into that because they know it's going to make the SEC mad, and they're probably already going to restructure the entire thing in 2 years anyway. So they're like, you know what? We're just going to do it our way.
I looked at who's on the committee, Phil. There's a lot, like I said, a lot of people that, yeah.
So they should not be there. They shouldn't. Yeah, no.
Well, if that thing holds up, and for those watching on YouTube, you see it on your screen, Georgia and Tennessee would have a rematch, and Georgia would be a 7-point favorite, according to Vegas. Ohio State would be a 20.5-point favorite against Arizona State. Penn State would be an 8.5-point favorite against IU, and Notre Dame would be an 8.5-point favorite against SMU. We talked about some of the Gamecocks that were on finalist award lists for the individual awards. Some SEC guys making the final cut, if you will. The Jim Thorpe is down to 3 people. That's the nation's top defensive back. You might have heard Deion Sanders very irate, and I don't blame him, actually, for Travis Hunter not being on this list. But Georgia's Malachi Starks is. He's the one SEC guy. The Outland Trophy, nation's best interior lineman. SEC's got a couple of the 3 left. Kelvin Banks, offensive tackle, Texas. Defensive tackle, Walter Nolan for Ole Miss. Lou Groza Award, top kicker, Alex Rayner, Kentucky. He's down to the final 3. There's been 5 teams favored in every game this season. 2 of them from the SEC. Gentlemen, you want to take a stab at the 2?
5 teams favored in every game.
Every game this year they were
all right.
favored.
Texas.
Yep.
And I would
A&M.
Yes.
A&M. Yeah.
You guys are in fuego. Texas at 10-1, A&M at 9-2. The only other teams that were favored in every game this year: Miami, Ohio State, and Liberty.
Liberty.
Well, Liberty's 8-2, but they've been favored.
Old
in every
Chadwell.
Game. Yeah, more on him in a moment. Updated national championship odds. Ohio State is your leader at plus 290. Second is Georgia at plus 375. Oregon, 450. Texas, 475. Notre Dame is 15-1. Penn State, 70-1. Miami and Bama are 25-1. Tennessee is 35-1. And I'll skip down the list a little bit. Clemson's 50-1. Carolina is 100-1. You want to put $10 on the Gamecocks? They could sneak in the playoff, and then they would be by far and away the hottest team running. You could go ahead and win yourself some good coin. 100-1 for the Gamecocks to win a national championship. As we talked about, Mac Brown, gone. Chapel Hill, who's going to be the guy? There are some guys with SEC ties that have been named as potential candidates. One would be Glenn Schumann, defensive coordinator, Georgia. You're going to hear his name a lot for multiple jobs. He's only 34 years of age. Barry Odom, president of the Barry Odom fan club, J.C. Sherbert. I know he will be getting a phone call or two about what makes Barry Odom the best candidate for that job and leaving UNLV. I think Barry listed you as a reference, J.C. talked to him the other day. He said,
well, you know who should be on that? If we're going down the JC referral list here, then Jerry Kills should be at the very top of this.
Well, he should. It's
Kill Zone.
If Jerry
Kill Zone with more talent like that,
if Jerry was younger, didn't have health issues, he'd be on a lot of lists. Charles Huff of Marshall, he's got ties to Saban in Alabama.
Mentioned that.
Actually, a couple.
That guy,
I'm just reading them.
Marshall should be killing everybody in the Sun Belt, and they don't. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. And then two others that I think are very interesting. Dan Mullen, who I think definitely gets a phone call. And Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee.
Is he bringing Jerry Kill with him?
He'd bring the Kill Zone with him. That's a package deal.
I'll say this: Clark Lee took back over the defense this year up there. They are one of the best coached defenses I've seen. I mean, they're in position. I mean, they're really good. But yeah, that's Dan Mullen. If I'm North Carolina and I'm smart, and they're not, they've made a lot of bad hires for football, basketball too, for that matter. But I'd hire Dan Mullen. He's a more with less guy. All he does is win. He's going to recruit well enough to run a system, and they're in the ACC where he can outcoach every single coach in that league.
Bingo. And now, unlike when he was at Florida, and the knock on him was obviously he's just not a great recruiter. He doesn't want to put the time. You hire people to handle all this. Everybody now has basically got a de facto director of player personnel, right? I mean, someone is running your budget with NIL and the portal, and someone's taking care of all that for you. The day and age where whoever makes the best impression with mama, that is secondary to the mighty dollar. So if you pony up the money and you got a nice little front office infrastructure, Dan Mullen doesn't have to be an elite recruiter to do well there in Chapel Hill.
Hire guys that, I mean, they had a great elite recruiter. He was 70 years old, but he recruited well.
Yeah.
And look how it worked out. They need a ball coach, and they need a guy that. And you're right. With enough resources and the right help, you could do it yourself. Mississippi State's ceiling was too low. Florida's floor was too high for him. North Carolina would be a sweet spot. He would be a legend there. He would get them in the playoff, win championships, that kind of thing. But they're not smart enough to do it. They're not. I mean, think how long it took somebody to actually hire Dan Mullen. And that was the guy where he worked for. Tennessee turned him down. I mean, everybody, Tennessee finally was going to hire him before Pruitt, and then Florida came open, and he took that, obviously. But, I mean, Mullen, I can't think of a better hire Chapel Hill could make.
I can't either. Those are all the guys with the SEC ties. Summerall and Chadwell, who we mentioned earlier, they're certainly on everybody's watch list for the North Carolina job, which right now, I guess would have to be the top opening, right?
It's the only power four, right?
Top.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, I don't
What's
think
a better
the SEC
job, Kentucky or North Carolina?
Oh, I'd go North Carolina because you have more funds. There's more money.
Well, according to the playoff results here, it's probably North Carolina.
I was going to say, part of me wants to say Kentucky, and I'm quick to point out Kentucky has massive resources that people don't think about. This whole notion that you have to be a football or a basketball school, you can't be both. But as JC will tell you, a term I love to use, path of least resistance. You can keep that job in Chapel Hill longer than you can Lexington. I think Mark Stoops, for all his flaws, has done about as good a job as anybody will at that job in a long time, and they've wanted his ass out of there for a couple of years now. So,
And look, North Carolina has a state with 9 million people in it, 11, 10. They're annually top 5 producer of NFL players. It's not just the highly ranked elite blue chip guys from that state that make it. It's a state full of basketball oriented schools, but there's good football in North Carolina, and there's enough to go around. So you can sign 33% of the top guys, all the Division I guys in your state from there, and be Dave Dorn and win 8 games a year. Yeah. And if you did that in Chapel Hill and beat NC State, they'd be happy.
Yeah, it's a different vibe over there. It's not your typical SEC cutthroat vibe for sure.
No.
Finally, the updated spreads on the games this week. Texas 5.5-point favorite against A&M. LSU 6-point favorite against Oklahoma. That game has a bizarre feel to it, doesn't it? Iron Bowl, Bama 11.5-point favorite against Auburn. Missouri 3-point favorite against Arkansas. Louisville 3.5-point favorite against Kentucky. Kentucky's owned that rivalry in recent years.
Yes.
Tennessee, Vandy used to be a nothing burger. Now all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, Tennessee 11-point favorite against Vandy, but don't sleep on the doors and the kill zone and the anchor down crowd. And if, by the way, if you lose that, you're done, and you lose about $10 million too. If you look at the college football playoff payouts, that would be an expensive loss, among other things.
Good point.
Yeah, it's. I just started seeing some of those numbers. They're pretty damn good. Ole Miss 26-point favorite in the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State. Georgia 19.5-point favorite against Georgia Tech, and that line for the Palmetto Bowl has not really moved. It's 2.5 Clemson still as we sit here on a Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve. And that will do it for the Love Chevy award-winning drive around the SEC. Maestro, take us out, please.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer. Don't let the summer of savings pass you by. I-26 at Harbison and at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
We'll see if that line moves as news begins to make its way towards Vegas about some of the injury issues up front for the Tigers, knowing that the Gamecock defense up front is as good as they've been. So
they always say the really good gamblers, they jump on the lines early. So like that thing will come out on a Sunday morning, and the whales, they're already calling their guy, they're getting it in. But for your average Joe, you might wait till after the turkey settles on Thursday night, Friday morning, and say, Carolina's an underdog? Well, we'll put $1,000 on that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Ma, the meatloaf.
Ma, the meatloaf.
What's she doing? I never know what she's doing.
I don't know what she's doing.
I'm crashing funerals now. Hey, I think I've figured out why the committee made excuses. I mean, I've totaled up you guys know the SEC is 9-6 against fellow Power 4 opponents, and they have 2 Group of 5 losses hanging as a conference. Like, all these games happened a long time ago, but I think they're hurting the league because they've beaten teams like, you got Miami, Florida. Cal beat Auburn. Yep. Oklahoma State, who's winless in the Big 12. Remember that game? They beat Arkansas and covered.
Yeah.
You have Notre Dame, A&M. Toledo blew Mississippi State out of the water. By the way, Toledo lost to Akron. Go Zips. Georgia State over Vandy. Arizona State beat Mississippi State. No surprise. Southern Cal over LSU.
Yeah.
I mean, are all those games coming back now? Now, look, Bama beat Wisconsin, Georgia, Clemson, Tennessee, NC State, Missouri, Boston College, Ole Miss, Wake, Florida, UCF, Texas, Michigan, LSU beat UCLA, Vandy beat Virginia Tech, but that record probably is not as strong as it normally is.
That's 100% true. The only thing I would say to that, almost every game you rattled off involved a bottom half SEC team.
Yeah, I think there were only 2 ranked teams in there. Yeah.
Oh, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but outside of Mississippi State, all of these bottom teams have beaten at least one of the top tier teams.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's probably, and now look, I'm not making excuses for them. I think they're wrong. I think all those losses happened a long time ago. But if you're an ACC homer and you're looking to pump that league up. By the way, the one team we didn't mention is SMU. Didn't mention them because guess what?
They didn't
play anybody.
Yeah.
No,
they haven't played anybody.
Yeah. Well, they got beat by BYU.
They lost non-con to BYU.
And beat Duke by the skin of their britches.
Yeah.
Barely.
In overtime. Duke. Now Duke's 7-4, I think, or something like maybe even 8-3. But Duke's good. They got a good quarterback, but
we've thoroughly covered the gifted record that Miami currently sits on.
So. They slobbed the knob over a 33-7 win at Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia. Oh man, that Virginia Ward Manual again, like I did earlier. I mean, that Virginia win was something to see.
Yeah. Well, he's got the AD over there in his other ear saying, that was a really good win for Miami.
So my question is this: either Clemson is bored to tears with their schedule and is actually really good and will whip the Gamecocks this weekend, or they're not, and because they gave up 31 to Virginia, at home.
Who knows?
It is time for a timeout. We got to get to the Fab Five. It's 1:38, built by the Barndo Co. and presented by Resto Pros. Inside the Gamecocks. We'll be right back.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cars while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl. Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nana's Porch chat box on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
There's nothing like Saturday in South Carolina. However you enjoy Gamecock football, Gamecock Traditions has a long-standing legacy of being a part of your game day. From tailgates to touchdowns, Gamecock Traditions has what you need and want with our beloved Block C logo. Get into Gamecock Traditions in Lexington or the Village at Sand Hill, or visit GamecockTraditions.com and have it shipped to your doorstep. We look forward to taking care of your family. Go Gamecocks.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
I'm not allowed to tell the ref how bad he is, so I'm going to need you to do that for me. Oh. He said, you're gone.
I'm a beggar who could use some help. I'm a seeker, searching for myself. I'm a rolling stone, just waiting on a friend. I'm a lover, wishing on a star for another, with a broken heart to hold each other close till the end.
Nana's Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nana's Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com, man, that's good.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock fans, Mike Morgan here. During my time in Columbia, one of my favorite places to eat was Salsaritas. When I go back now for work or any other reason, it's still Salsaritas. Yeah, I'm like you. I love tacos. I love Tex-Mex. Where are you going to go to get them? Well, you've got two convenient Salsaritas locations, one in Lexington at the Target Center and one in West Columbia as well. Now, if you like tailgating, and who doesn't? Whether it's for a football game or anything else, they've got the catering hotline. Get yourself some Fiesta packs to take tailgating. Get yourself the Three Amigos bundles for tailgating. They make catering easy with a fresh, hot setup. And again, you just call the phone number 803-543-6297 to set it up. You can also look them up online, or you can even download the app. Salsaritas is just a cut above the rest. That's why they're serving Williams-Brice Stadium and the South Stands, also serving in the Colonial Life arenas. Again, that catering hotline number, make it easy for you and the folks out there. You don't need to settle for sandwiches every time. 803-543-6297. 803-543-6297.
That all looks super duper yummy, that's for sure. The Salsaritas and Gamecock Traditions Fab 5, those are updated, right, Phil?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, so it's the last weekend of the regular season, and then we've got championship weekend and bowl pick'em. Did we include that last year?
Yeah. Keep cranking it up.
I had
Why
a 2
not?
and 3 week, my first losing week of the year.
Yeah, you did well.
I guess I had the same.
You were 1 and 4.
No, you were.
Even better.
Yeah, you were 1 and 4.
Yeah,
Somebody
I
was 4 and 1. Who was 4 and 1? JC.
JC went 4 and 1. Made up some ground there. Yeah.
Wow.
Firmly in second. And I'm just happy to be back at 500.
Tough stretch.
This has been a rough one. Yeah, this has been a rough one.
The Fab 5 will be available on the Chief Sports app before 3 p.m. 3 p.m. And then you can go put your Fab 5 picks in as well. Win a $25 gift card to both Salsaritas and Gamecock Traditions. All right, Mike, tee us up.
Okay. For those that have followed the Fab 5 challenge going back to glory days in Columbia, Carolina Clemson, we always do it a little bit differently. It's all about the game among games. We used to do Fab 10 on this, but I thought that would cause a little too much stress and anguish for everybody. So we're going to keep it just 5. This is one I always throw on there. It's an emotional game, guys. A lot of emotions. Good chance there's going to be some personal fouls. The team that commits the first personal foul, Jamie Bradford.
Well, I don't think it'll be a personal foul like somebody punching someone in the face. I just think
it could be a late hit. It could be a late hit out of bounds, unnecessary roughness. Let me clarify. 15-yard personal foul, unnecessary roughness. That could be a number of things.
Yeah, I actually think it's going to be Clemson. And the reason is because of how they'll utilize Lenore Sellers. I think that the Tigers will get the first 15-yarder.
All right, as we know, whenever I address the great Phil Molinex, I try to do famous and very appealing bald men. Telly Savalas.
Let's go.
Okay. All right. That's a good one.
Just need a lollipop.
I like all your rationale there, JB. I like all your rationale. I think it would be an SEC crew, though, right? Which does
that
doesn't help
Carolina.
me at all. Yeah, that doesn't help us at all. So you know what? I'm going Carolina, and I think it'll be a roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer, definitely a popular one. If we were to go specific on what it's going to be, for sure. JC.
I'll go Carolina too. Just pass rush, lineman out. There's gonna be some free shots.
Yeah.
And the way they call the game now, you never know when. Oh no, he hit him too hard. Targeting, and then some slap nuts in the replay booth has had too many Fats chicken fingers and poppy seed rolls, and he just sits there and can't. It just makes a call and agrees, and these types of scenarios happen to Carolina at times. So that's my bet.
I'm going to go with both of you guys. I'm going to say the road team. Sometimes you feel like you're in a pit. You're like Russell Crowe in The Gladiator. Everybody's against you. They want you to take the gas pipe, and so that's going to get your dander up a little bit. So maybe the first late hit, see like a push out of bounds. Flags are flying. I'll go Carolina on the first one, but that might even itself out throughout the course of the game. All right, Phil Maffa having a hell of a year. Already a 1,000-yard rusher for the Clemson Tigers. Will he score a rushing touchdown? Phil, somebody gave me a suggestion for another famous bald man, Johnny Sins.
Oh,
all
right.
Okay, yeah. All right.
He's a porn star, right?
Yeah, there we
Okay.
are.
David, you knew that way too quickly.
Tracked a different way there.
Yeah. They
just
Dirk
didn't
Diggler
say
of the
which
show,
one.
Mad Dog Phil Molinex.
Porn star Phil. Go ahead.
I'm sure the wife will appreciate that reference.
Check out my OnlyFans, Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes. I said yes on the mock touchdown. That's what that. Yeah. Just simply, I think he gets one.
JC?
How about no?
Oh.
You know what? I should have changed my answer.
Oh,
well, you can't.
Here we go. Falling in line with JC again.
No, it was. I'm going to leave it at yes, but I think
trouble,
that the
Phil.
troubles may have opened that up for him and may have made that a bit tougher. But I'm going to stick with yes because I'm not. Yeah, I'm going to stick with yes.
JC's going to stick with no, I assume. Okay. I will say yes. I think he finds pay dirt at least once. Jamie?
So he hasn't he hadn't crossed the goal line since November the 2nd. And he has played against Carolina 4 years, and the last time he scored against them was 2021. All that said, I do think he will find a way to squeak in somewhere, so I'll give him one, yes.
Okay. Question number 3. Let's get a little love on the quarterbacks here. Klubnik, passing touchdowns over or under 1.5, JC.
I'm going to go under.
He is going to say under. That would lead up to me. I will also go under. Jamie.
Yeah, he's been slinging it around, but injuries and this front, I'm going to give them the credit. I'm going to go under. Give him one.
Well, we're all of one accord then, because I said under too.
Prince William says under. Okay. All right. Number 4. Lenore Sellers passing touchdowns over or under 1.5. Jamie, will lead off with you, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna go over on that. He's hard to go against Lenore Sellers right now. So let's go with 2.
Pitbull.
Dally. Let's see. Over. I don't know why I'm thinking that. I was looking at the next one. Yeah, over on this. Yeah, I think he scores multiple touchdowns through the air.
JC.
How about no?
Ooh, I did not see that coming.
Passing touchdown?
Yeah.
I'll go under.
Well, he's only thrown for 11 in the last 3 games.
I know.
Gonna go
Do
under,
you sit there and continue to bet on red during roulette?
Yeah, when you're hot, yes, you do.
That's why I lose money playing roulette.
That's why I don't do well at roulette.
No, I think South Carolina's going to be able to run it successfully in the red zone. So, I mean, I didn't say total touchdowns for Sellers, but passing. Yeah. Okay.
Gosh, JC's logic actually might affect my pick here. I was all about a yes.
Look at the standings, Mike.
But he does that.
Well, look at
Well,
where
he's actually
I am.
ahead of Mike now.
I was going to say, how am I going to argue with the guy who's now ahead of me?
That's good.
Plus, I need to make up ground on you, Jamie. I'll say no. That he throws for 1, he runs for 1, and Rocket grinds out a couple more, and that's good enough to win this game. Actually, it's more than enough, good enough to win the game. So I will say under on that one. Okay. Phil will start. No. Let's see. Yeah. Okay.
You'll winner.
No, I got a different one for you here. Rocket Sanders, longest rush over under 25 yards. We start with John Doe from the movie 7.
Didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't either.
Don't
Give me J.K. Simmons or anything like that? No, we got to go right for that guy. That's right. Yeah, give me the over there. I think Carolina's going to have a good day running the ball.
JC. Do we have JC?
How about no?
Yeah, JC, are we actually going to win the game?
Nah, I think 25 is a bridge too far.
It's
a bridge too far.
Didn't say he wouldn't get 17 or so. 23. That's a haul. Now, look, Sanders a breakaway back. I mean, he gets moving like we all saw. And I didn't say he wouldn't catch a screen passing. Rush from scrimmage? No.
I am going to mirror JC's logic. He's hot. He's hot in the fantasy football league as well, I might add. Right now, Sherb Nation is just winning. So I'll go under. I think Rocket has a good day, but I'll go under on the 25 or more. Jamie?
Last game in the Carolina uniform, unless they're in the playoffs. Over.
Didn't overthink it.
Multiple times. Over.
Okay. Multiple times. A 42-yarder, a 75-yarder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
Tiebreaker will be total yards. Carolina, not a whole lot of magic to this one. I'm debating whether or not this is like a low-scoring game or does Carolina just break through. But, I mean, I don't think this Clemson team is going to get a ton of points, so you don't need to get 38 to win this game. You might need 24 to win this game. So with all that being said, I'll just throw out a number to get it started here. I'll go with 350. Okay. Jamie?
402.
You butthole. You took my number.
Wow.
Of all the numbers
Seriously,
in the universe.
No, I had 402 teed up. I hate you. I hate you guys. I hate you guys.
The first butthole reference ever heard here on Salsaritas Fast
That's
Five
worse than
channel.
calling somebody an asshole. When you call somebody
it
a
is.
butthole, it's
Yeah.
worse. I mean, Phil's wife told me that one time.
That's right.
She's absolutely right.
It's more evocative.
That'd be the wife of Johnny Sins, Mad Dog.
Did we even get JC's number? Oh, it's not. He missed her. That's all right.
Well, he wants 402, so I guess you want to do what, 402 and a half, JC? What do you want?
I got 412. That's where I'm going. Maybe that'll influence.
Okay.
I'm going to go with 408.
Okay, so nobody really here seems to have a ton of respect for Clemson's defense then.
Well, you just don't know, Mike. They gave up 350 passing yards to a backup quarterback at Pitt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
okay, so that's A. but then the Citadel rushed for 288 on them.
Yeah, that's what I was looking
When
at.
you're talking about yards, Isaac Brown of Louisville went for $150, but they held Virginia Tech to 20 yards rushing at their place. So I don't know. 408 doesn't necessarily translate into points. I mean, I think that was my I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. For the first time ever, I have no idea what to expect from Clemson Saturday. None.
Well, yeah. I don't either. Really. Like, I don't have a feel. Like, I think most of us have a feel on what Carolina is right now. I don't know if.
I mean,
Clemson fans have a
it's
feel.
not even their schedule so much as it's like they play different ways in different games. The issue is they win. And sometimes when you have a team that wins different ways, they're dangerous because that's what they do. They just win, and so I have no idea. 408 sounds like reasonable to me.
All right.
I like
that, of course. Did we get your number, Jamie?
Yep, 402.
Yep, we got everybody's. Well, that's it. That might be that was the no huddle tempo, no timeouts on our back pocket. Let's just get down and dirty to business on the Salsaritas Fat 5 Challenge. Again, for a Salsaritas and Gamecock Traditions gift certificate of $25. Do we have last week's winner, by the way? Are we?
I've got 2 weeks worth of winners. I don't have them handy, though,
okay.
So I will. We will be sure to announce them.
We will be announcing those soon.
Monday. On Monday.
Let me ask you this: did anybody go 5-0? I don't think anybody went 5-0 last week. Maybe the week before. We haven't had a 5-0. If those 2 weeks are no 5-0s, we have not had a 5-0 in forever. Yeah, it's been since definitely all of November and probably into October. Since we cracked down on the people using like computer algorithms to submit entries.
Exactly. AI.
I think Jamie's got the only 5-0 all year, right? I haven't gone
amongst the four of us. That is correct. Yes. Yeah.
I had 2 last year in the first month. I have not had a single 5-0 this year. That's a hard pill to swallow.
I avoided the 0-5 though. I was happy for that. I haven't had one of those yet.
Yeah,
Mike. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Same to you guys.
Shots before we take off here.
Just again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Really appreciate you being a part of what's kind of become a family here with ITG. Looking forward to the game. I've been fortunate to have a front row seat for that one for a decade, and I can tell you I've covered a lot of great rivalries in college football. Auburn, Alabama, Florida State. I've never been a part of anyone that's better than Carolina Clemson. I really mean that. It's special for a lot of different reasons. And I can't wait to enjoy the game on Saturday.
It's going to be a blast. Schubert, Mad Dog, season's greetings to all of our.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Right. I know Phil's got a lot of cooking to do.
Yeah, well, I got an army of sous chefs down there today who were actually doing my day ahead
doing
prep,
your bidding.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I took care of my 2 days prep yesterday. It's a whole process with this meal.
Yes,
it's
chef.
Well worth it in the end.
Yeah, you see that show, The Bear, or see Top Chef? Yes, chef.
Yes, chef.
Yeah, but no, from all of us inside this house and inside this screen, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there.
There's no question. We have the best fans on the planet. We can't thank you enough for always being a part of our programming every day. We work hard for you, and we hope that you enjoy that. Most importantly, we hope you enjoy your friends, and we hope you enjoy your family and your football and your food and everything else. We all have a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving and this holiday season. From us at ITG, we leave you with this, and we'll see you on Friday.
May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. And may you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung. forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. May you always be courageous, stand upright and be strong. And may you stay forever young. And may you stay forever young. May your hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay